Okay. We'll be there for you.
Thank you. During my transition.
I had a band down with one.
Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the Board of Selectmen meeting for Monday, April 24th. Mr. Clerk, would you lead us in the Pledge of the Flag?
Yes, ma'am. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, on the agenda for tonight, 6:30, Organization, Pledge of Allegiance, read mail. 6:35, Director of Public Works, Mass DOT Complete Streets, award Nagog Hill Road Reconstruction Contracts, Stormwater MS4 Permit Compliance Update, and award Smart Sewer Engineering Contract. 6:55, Public Input, Members Updates, Selectmen Goal Updates. 7 o'clock, Littleton Commons Smart Sewer Public Information Session lasting 9 minutes is what we've got allocated. 9 minutes, 90.
9 minutes?
90.
So much for thinking there, Madam Chair.
8:30, May 1st, 2017, Annual Special Town Meetings, Article Assignments and Recommendations. 8:45, 3 items under Town Administrator, Assistant Town Administrator. First, May 6th, 2017, Annual Town Election Warrant. Second, Park and Recreation Commission, an MOU for supervision of the Park and Rec Director. And lastly, Procurement Facility Project Updates for Town Building and Space Needs Analysis, Alumni Fields, and Building Projects. 9 o'clock, we have minutes approval, and then 9:05, the board will go into executive session to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel. All right, so, item 1A, or 1, mail, Mr. Bergen. And then we'll get to item 1A.
Real quick, just a few items in the mail packet. First, a report that at a meeting in Boston last Thursday, I had a chance to meet with the MBTA's chief of real estate. We've long been pursuing with the T additional parking for the Littleton commuter rail station. They'd identified a potential plan, but have been looking for funding from some outside sources. So I was very pleased when the T officials reported that they have found $1.5 million and are allocating that amount for expansion of parking at Littleton Station. We are one of the very few stations, might be the only one, it's a very short list, where they're actually expanding parking with these funds, and I think it just, I think the perseverance is paying off, not only what this board has set as a matter of policy, and we've had any number of meetings, we've met with our legislators. Acton had a public hearing a week or so ago where the people there were pleading for more parking here. It's all symbiotic, but in any event, I was very pleased to see that the message has come through. No commitment on the number of spaces that will result. The one figure they can commit to is 1.5 million in their budget, that there are some issues. The easy spaces have already been built, so now it's a matter of dealing with the terrain both on the Grimes Lane side and on the north side of Foster Street alongside the station. But we'll be working with the T and with their engineering consultant in the coming months, and hope that we can see some of these spaces come online in the near future. So that was great.
That's
great update.
fantastic.
Well done. So, and the other thing in the packet was just to note that the town is now the proud owner of 5.11 acres of land on Boxborough Road. This is the surplus property the town meeting last November authorized us to acquire from MassDOT, and that deed has gone through, and so that property is secure. It wasn't in your packet, but you have them now, just for information's sake, is the audits and management letter. This is for fiscal 2016. Our procedure has been that the Finance Committee hosts a joint meeting where they bring the auditor in to address them, and then we go to that. But this is the document that has been presented to us with no significant findings. And a very healthy, positive analysis, so.
And we've shared this with the Finance Committee.
We just got ours in the mail, and they're getting theirs as well, so we'll.
But they were copying the letter from Juicy earlier today, right?
That's right.
Very
So
good.
that's it.
Excellent. Okay, so that's Pledge of Allegiance, read mail, and now we actually have agenda item 1A. We have a very special group of people in the audience tonight. You may notice they are wearing their T-shirts here. If you guys want to come on down, or I don't know exactly what the approach is going to be, actually. But I heard you guys were working on something, so hopefully that's the case, question mark. Come on down.
Lippy lips.
Yeah, Clancy was working with them, no? Yes.
Just on that.
Just on that, okay. So hey, guys, I know there's not a lot of room to, all right, so, welcome.
Fill the space.
Yeah, exactly,
Everybody
fill the
come
space
forward.
up, that's right.
Thank you all for having us. So as you know, we're the Littleton First Robotics team, and we just wanted to come out and tell you a little bit about what we've done this season and what we're looking
That
forward
would
to
be
doing in
great.
the next few years.
So we've actually attended several events so far.
Why don't you introduce yourself, so we can, start from this end and work your way, so we can put some names to
Took
faces.
you out of your mojo there, John. You were going to.
Yeah.
Brian,
You're
I'm
all
sorry,
right.
Brian.
I've heard you, you do well.
I'm Brian Provo, and I'm a junior.
I'm Elias Boone, I'm a junior.
I'm Sri and I'm a sophomore.
I'm Nicholas Boone and I'm a freshman.
Yana Kumikova and I'm a senior.
I'm Brendan Crow, and I'm a senior.
I'm Zach Miller, I'm also a senior.
I'm Elliot Honor, and I'm a freshman.
Nice, great team. All right,
So we've actually attended several events so far with our robot. The first one being in Granite State, New Hampshire. And this being our first event, we had no clue how we would match up with veteran teams. And we actually finished 5th out of 40 teams, and also received the Rookie All-Star Award.
Nice.
unbelievable. So you guys have had to learn a lot of different things to pull this off, right? You've got to use a lot of different technologies. I saw the old shop room was kind of renovated. You're cutting parts out. You're using different machines to build the robot. Then you got to use the technology to put it together to actually do things. Not only that, but you're in a game that you need to work together to strategize, how to win against other teams. First time doing it, right? Rookie of the year. You're headed to the, is it World Champions or World Series?
World Championship.
World
Yes.
Championship.
But I think after that event, you guys went to UNH after that. Is that correct? Or?
Yes.
We had an event, Southern New Hampshire, so you were talking about how we had to, use the tools to constantly make new things and using strategies. So that was like a huge thing for this event because we were kind of, we had not a lot of luck with our alliance selections, so when we ended the event in our qualification matches, we were kind of low. But nonetheless, we performed well, and we were picked on the 8th alliance for the elimination matches. And typically, the 8th alliance is knocked out very early because they go against the 1st, which is, the best. But through excessive strategy and really, really good teamwork, we managed to beat all the odds, and we won the event with our alliance partners.
Pioneers, you're obviously future leaders. I hope you know that. You're learning a set of skills that is really critical to, the world, Littleton, yourselves. So I really commend you. And we wanted to offer you a certificate of recognition. Let me just read it here. The Littleton Board of Selectmen recognizes the accomplishments of the Littleton Robotics team for their first place finish at the 2017 New England First District Southern New Hampshire event. On behalf of the people of Littleton, the Selectmen extend their very best wishes and express the hope for future good fortune and continued success in all endeavors. So thank you very much.
You guys have anything to add as far as what next steps or anything like that, as far as where you're headed now, or?
So last week, no, the week before last, we had our third competition. That was the district championship. So we had our first two, and those were district events. And from those two, we gained enough points from the wing and from qualifying as 5th place to get onto the district champs. And we competed there a couple weeks ago. We did well enough there that we accrued enough points from all 3 events together that we're now heading to Worlds. And we'll be leaving tomorrow afternoon, actually.
Nice.
So you guys have done some fundraising, and I'm sure that there's still opportunities for people if they want to
Absolutely.
get donations. Where do people bring donations or send donations if
I meant to bring my donation tonight.
So we,
some people just offer up their faces to get pies in them.
Yeah.
we do have a website, littletonfirstobotics.org. You can donate through that. We have a GoFundMe as well. You could even just bring checks written out to Littleton First Robotics to David Provo or any of our mentors in the town. There's a lot of ways for you guys to get us money. Sorry. You guys as in the town. You represent the town. I meant the town.
The global you.
Yeah, exactly. So yeah, like Zach said, we're going to World Championships, and we really hope to do well there and inspire the town. And we hope to make this a long-lasting team in Littleton and really bring STEM education and this amazing opportunity to all the kids in Littleton for years to come.
That's awesome.
Very nice.
Fantastic.
Where is World being held?
St. Louis.
That's awesome.
Well,
Good.
have
Enjoy.
fun, be good. Go get them, Tigers! Wish you all
Nice job,
luck,
guys.
thank you
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome. All right, fantastic, always nice to see something like that going on in the town. Okay, so now, item 2. So we've got 4 items here. Item 2A, all under the Director of Public Works, so Chris. And the first one is the Mass DOT Complete Streets Improvements. And, go ahead, take it away.
Yeah, so we, as you know, we received the grant for, I believe it was $394,000 for the Tier 3 grant, which included Russell Street sidewalk replacement, Russell Street sidewalk addition between about the bridge and Great Road. Some traffic, or some pedestrian sidewalk ramps in some other areas, some signs, some speed feedback signs, and some bike racks. So we went out to bid for that. We had one response, just one contractor, and they came in at a price of $426,745. It's a little bit above the estimate that Green put together. We kind of kicked around some questions as to why. We believe it was because it's just a low dollar project, and because the economy is doing real well. I don't think it's really appealing to a lot of contractors. So it's still within our budget. We, Keith and I, we believe we should still try to push this forward because it was a grant funded.
It seems to be an anomaly with this because in the same day or within the same week, we opened other bids for bigger project and it came in $500,000 under.
Yep.
And so.
With 9
between
responses.
the two, I mean, Nagog Hill construction is coming in at overall $2.5 million compared to the estimate of $2.9 million. This one happens to be, we needed to find another $30,000 in our own money to award the contract. We at this point, want to proceed and get the sidewalk built and to expend the funds, the contract we've signed with the state. I mean, I'm glad we had the one bidder, and we're able to figure out a way to fund it, because otherwise we'd be missing our target date of June 30 of this year to complete the sidewalk. That is our target date for the project.
June 30th this year.
June 30, yeah.
Yes.
Can I ask you a question?
Yes.
What is a subwalk inlet on the bid sheet? Because there's such a discrepancy with what was estimated and what they came in at.
Yeah, so that is on Russell Street because the drainage infrastructure is where it is. The sidewalk, we can't push it any farther out, so we're kind of stealing a little bit of the road. So in order to do that, we don't want to relocate the drainage, so what we do is we put basically a curb cut, a piece of granite with a hole in it. And so the water can go in and still drain into the catch basin efficiently. So that's what a sidewalk.
And the latest that was when you look at the sheet, the estimate was 2,000, they put down 40,000.
Yeah, and it's a lump sum bid, so that's not 40,000 per structure, that's just the whole, we did it as a lump sum bid because it's such a small quantity and there's not a lot of, we don't have to spend resident engineering costs to manage the project because it's such a small project. Yeah, they were really shocked at some of the prices on it. But like I said, there's a couple other ones that actually came in a little bit cheaper, so I really believe it was just because it was such a small dollar project, and there's just, I think, more work out there that was better for other contractors. It's the only thing I can think of.
What was your estimate on the bid?
It was, I believe, 390 or 389,000. Well, Green's estimate. My personal estimate.
Yeah, the grant, that, Green prepared the grant application, which was for $394,000. So that was their estimate of what it was gonna cost, and it came in at a total of $426. So we're off by around 30.
Is what it is. Good project for 30 grand.
Yeah.
And Sam Park came through, Sam Park was fine with amending
swap.
the MOA, and so he signed that. You approved it 2 weeks ago, and he signed it, so that check's in the mail.
Nice. Famous last words.
We know where he is.
There you go.
All right, are we good to go with this one, guys? Yep, understand, thank you.
I move that the Board of Selectmen vote to award the authorized execution of the contract with Complete Streets Improvement with J. Trapino, Inc. of North Andover, Mass. At its sole bid of $426,745 with execution of said contract subject to receipt of performance and payment bonds and certificates of insurance.
Second.
Moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Okay, very good. Next up, more complete streets. Submit new tier 3 grant application.
Yep, so, there's no limit to how many times you can apply for the Tier 3 grant, so we're gonna try again for another,
This is to Green's credit,
246,000.
because I'm so trained by the Green Communities Program that you can't apply for a new grant till you spent the old one. It never occurred to me that another state agency would be operating a different way. So Green came to us a few weeks ago and said, have you thought about applying in this round? And I said, I hadn't thought about it, but tell us more. And so we can apply. And they've got $250,000 in additional projects that are in the queue and would be ready to go. They are part of the plan that the board approved. Our Tier 2 plan had 5 years' worth of projects, and these 3 projects are ones that are like ready to go. In a future year, or future funding round, we could, pursue the other year or 2 project of sidewalks on Foster Street, or, other things that are, but these are viewed as ready to go.
Question?
Yeah, Jennifer Street. What are you doing with the sidewalk on Jennifer Street?
the work will include repairing approximately 1,400 feet of existing sidewalk along the west side between King Street and Losslea. Sidewalk, ADA ramps, because it's berm,
Yeah.
that's not,
So you're gonna go with
we're gonna
granite?
go granite curbing.
Because the sidewalk's not in bad shape.
Yeah, it's not in bad shape, but it's the berm that makes it incredibly dangerous.
Okay.
So we'll end up converting it to granite
It's a
curbing.
good start.
And then ADA ramps at all the
Still,
crossings.
still with the asphalt, or are you going concrete?
I don't know exactly what this price includes, 1,400 feet, most likely that's gonna be asphalt, because I don't think I could do it for that. But if I can, I'd rather concrete, so if I can find a way to add a little bit of money if we have it in the road maintenance account, then I would upgrade it to concrete. It's more durable.
Yeah, do it as an option or something.
Well, I would include it into the design. So,
Oh, yeah.
like I said, but I just have to go back and run the numbers. I'm not sure what their 150,000 included, if it was asphalt or concrete.
Any other questions on this one? Joe, you good?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to authorize submission of the Mass Dot under It's fiscal year 2018 Complete Streets Funding Program, a Tier 3 grant application, the amount of $246,268 for the following projects included in the town's approved Tier 2 prioritization plan. Goldsmith Street improvements, $98,457.60. Jennifer Street sidewalk, $135,920.10. And Newtown Road pedestrian mid-block crosswalk, $11,889.60.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Very good. Now, continuing on the road theme, Nagog Hill Road reconstruction.
Yeah, so this is, we had actually quite a few, we had 8 or 9 respondents for Nagog Hill, which, like we said, was kind of weird, because we only got 1 for complete streets. But the low bidder was E.H. Perkins at $2.15 million.
Any history with them?
I personally never worked with them. Green called all their references. They all came back fantastic. So,
Never heard of them.
yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I've seen their trucks around a lot, but I've just never personally worked with them. But they came in, you know, almost 500,000, 450,000 under budget, so that's good.
Water main?
Yeah, that includes the water main.
So you coordinate with the water department for the connections to the houses and services?
Yes, we've had multiple meetings with them already. They're all on board with the procedures and the steps that we plan to take.
Very good.
Any other questions on this one? No? Joe?
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to award and authorize execution of contract roadway reconstruction of Nagog Hill Road with E.H. Perkins Construction, Inc. of Hudson, Mass. at its low bid of $2,150,000, with execution of said contract subject to receipt of performance and payment bonds and certificates of insurance. 2, move that the Board of Selectmen vote to award a contract for resident engineer and construction administration services for Nagog Hill Road Reconstruction Project, Green International Affiliates, Inc. of Westford, in the amount of not to exceed $156,875.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And I just want to mention on both of these, and to Chris's credit, that the numbers that were coming in, the scope of the project, and the size of the scope of the work that Green's doing, absolutely represent a sharpening of the pencil and controlling the costs into hundreds of thousands of dollars on this project.
Love your idea about the reconstruction, Neil. And really starting to look at other avenues.
Thank you.
Very good. So let's now go to stormwater and our MS4 EPA permit.
I asked Chris to give us a quick update. There's no action on this item, but at town meeting, we are asking for another $100,000 for a second year in a row, and just to briefly update on where stormwater is. And there's a lot of activity going on.
Yep, so, as you know, we got the last $100,000 from the Clean Lakes Fund. With that money, we hired Time Bond to do our consulting for to keep us or get us compliant on the new MS4 permit. Their contract was originally for $59,500. With that, we've been able to do stormwater management program, including the IDDE plan, which is the illicit discharge detection and elimination plan. They did they digitized a lot of our stormwater maps, because they were just old hard copies in drawers. Investigated some dry weather outfalls, and provided stormwater management and erosion control bylaws support. So all of their money will be expended before the end of FY17, or before permit year 1 starts. That actually won't get us fully compliant with permit year 1, so I have them providing me a scope of work and an estimate to complete the notice of intent, finish a stormwater management plan, do some public outreach, and then continue on some identifying and documenting of sanitary sewer outfalls, and as well as some more drainage mapping. That'll get us fully in compliant with the year one of the permit. That most likely will not use up the rest of the 100 grand, or the 100,000 that we're asking for in next week. But what the rest of the 100,000 will allow us to do is actually start into year two work to keep us ahead, so that way we don't risk falling behind. So we should be receiving some substantial work from them. All the mapping, I actually think, is going to be in my office tomorrow. So we'll have digital copies of all that, and we'll be able to move forward with that. So a lot of work going on behind the scenes. Nothing really to show yet, but we have a lot of stuff going on. The big thing is we're going to be compliant. So.
Yeah, and there are many communities in the area that are struggling with this. Foxborough is just now coming up to speed. Littleton is part of now 2 stormwater collaboratives. We've been working with Northern Middlesex for the last couple of years, but through a state grant that MAPC got, that the Magic Subregion is also forming one, so that we can be working with our nearby neighbors on this.
Just so everybody, this is a federal regulation. This is not a.
Correct. It's a
Local
federal
or state.
regulation, which, as of, we check every day to see if it's still on the books, but we've taken a lot of the other ones off, but this one remains.
Thank you, Chris.
And Bob Zimmerman wouldn't have it any other way, right? So, yeah, that's Charles River.
Okay, no other questions on that one. Then we have our first of 2 sewer topics, and the last for the DPW in this section. So that's the Littleton Common Sewer Strategic Plan and awarding our engineering contract.
Yep. So, as you all know, we went out for requests for qualifications for the Smart Sewer Project at the Littleton Commons. We received 4 responses. Of those 4, we whittled them down to 3. Weston and Sampson, Wright, Pearson, Fuss and O'Neill, we called them, we asked them to come in, we did some interviews, ranked them based on after some reference checks and the interviews. We settled on Weston and Sampson as being number 1. We entered into negotiations with them based on the $252,000 we had, or have currently available. We developed a scope of work, and everybody agreed on it. So now we're here to get the contract signed.
And just to clarify, weren't there 19 applicants received, and then it was?
No, so there was 19 requests for the proposals from us. We received back 4. So only 4 firms
Okay,
submitted
I got
to
you.
us for review.
All right, and they were all very well qualified firms. That was.
Yes.
We had an enviable task of
Yeah.
choosing from
Yes.
4 well-qualified ones, and the 3 that we invited for interview. It was a really tough decision.
It was a lot of sleepless nights trying to
Yeah,
figure out
yeah.
who the best was. So.
Sounds like a good situation.
But
Tough,
we
but a
found-
good
we
situation.
But we found the best.
So welcome, Ken and Steve from Weston and Sampson. I don't know, board, do you have any questions that you want to ask? Myself, Chuck, and Paul were involved in the process, so we're familiar with them and helped give our vote there. I don't know if Jim or if you guys want to add anything, or if Jim and Joe, you have any questions?
Just one question. Weston and Sampson's a big firm. I know you're just talking about $400,000 not being a big contract. $252,000 is a lot of money for anybody, but for Weston and Sampson, how was the contract received with your company in regards to getting it done and getting the attention that the town?
Your project is a very important project. We recognize that, and that's our job to treat it importantly. $252,000 is a very good size planning job. The goal is to not spend money unwarrantedly, and in this case, that's the right budget to get you through the phase 1 work, and then our job is to help you spend it wisely so that you've got something at the end of that expenditure. We're really good at that. It's right in the middle of the type of work and the size of contracts we'd like to have. We do much smaller contracts, believe me. It's a very nice project, and we're very, very happy to work with the town.
Joe, any questions from your side? Anything you guys want to add or questions?
Anything I could say would only further delay a long overdue project.
Yeah, great, okay.
Well put there, Mr. Glady.
I'll make that.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to award the contract for professional engineering services for preliminary design of a smart sewer project for Littleton Common to successfully proposer Weston and Sampson Engineers, Inc. of Peabody, Mass. In the amount not to exceed $252,000 for Phase 1, subject to approval as informed by Town Council.
It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Yeah, is there
Sorry,
discussion
sorry.
or question?
Sorry.
No.
The chair, you need to go through the chair and be called upon and name and address, please. But public input is actually the very next
Okay.
topic, so then
you.
anyone can raise their hand. And if the question is about, is this about that was, the next topic is on the sewer, the overview. Yep, just to clarify, we've got two things on the agenda for sewer tonight. This one is just the awarding the contract, the next one's the public input.
And town council has approved the contract as to form, and so you can execute it tonight, and we do have
We can sign it.
copies. Yes.
Great.
Okay. Thank you, yeah, sounds good. Okay, thank you, Chris. Lots going on here. Good to see you as always. Not that you're going anywhere, you know what I mean? Just, it's
No,
nice
no,
to
I'm
have
not
all
going
your
anywhere.
updates. Okay, so at 7 PM, we have the Littleton Commons Smart Sewer Public Information Session, and 7 PM is now, but we have public input, member input, and selectmen goal updates before that. It shouldn't take long, so we should only just be a couple of minutes late. So first, public input. Any public input? Yes, I think Mr. Sanders' hand went up right before yours, Ms. Ruth.
Madam Chair, members of the board, I want to apologize to the town of Littleton because I had a couple of signs on the common up here that I put in the ground during the time that I was there. Mr. Berkman informed me that when Trump was running in the primary, I guess, or either the general election, that's when the town changed the procedure about putting anything in the ground. So I apologize to the community because it was never my intent to break the law. I'm a law-abiding citizen. So with having said that, I would like to point out that there's a lot of people that came up to me, and some of the things that I think that the selectmen need to probably look at, and that is, they're saying that where that you have key items like this library situation, a lot of families that are young, they're at home putting their kids to bed and so forth, and they can't come out to the town meeting. So they was wondering, was there any way that, you know, the town can come up with picking one or two key items and do it like an absentee vote, where people could come in and vote on those items? And if they can't be there at the town meeting to do this. So I think that may be something worthwhile for the town to sort of kind of look at, because there was quite a few people had asked me about that, and I said, no, you gotta get the meeting to do that. The other thing I would like to point out is that a lot of people have this misconception about what the town is able to do and not do. The town, some of them didn't see the meeting 2 weeks ago, where that the finance outlook at the town was made known as to what we can and what we can't handle right now. So I think that would be a good thing, that town meeting for perhaps maybe Ms. Bunny hosting to reiterate that to the town, so people will have the knowledge of this, because some people think this town has got the money to do this, and we really don't have it unless we're going to do a debt exclusion or override. I thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Sanders. I don't know if that absentee ballot thing has come up before, but maybe it has not.
It has come up.
It has
but
come up.
anything
It's not.
we can do.
It's
No,
it's not something we can do.
It's a study committee on increasing voter participation looked at that one quite a bit, and it's not a workable solution. We can get into details why, but.
Okay, very well. And we'll definitely include that financial piece to the town meeting presentation. Yes?
Katie Kruth, Goldsmith Street. As we signed the contract, you signed the contract for $250,000 for the sewer initiative, I just wanted to mention that I know a lot of the property owners, we have absentee landlords who don't really do much to take care of the property, to maintain it, and some of those properties are an eyesore. And I just feel like, aside from the sewer, there's a lot of improvement that can be done for far less cost by addressing the code issues. If you would require the property owners to maintain a certain standard of appearance for their property, I think that would go a long way in making our common, more attractive to businesses that want to go there. And also the safety issue. A lot of people feel it's not safe to walk at the common because the crosswalks aren't honored, aren't respected, we don't have that kind of a culture of stopping at crosswalks. So I just feel like those are two things that really should be first on the list. And I know we have a code enforcement officer who is overworked with the new growth in town, but I feel like this is, it's a less costly thing that we could be doing now without, going through the long process.
Okay, thank you. And I know one thing I'll touch upon when we get into the next agenda item, the sewer public info session, is the master plan. And you're right, I'll repeat myself, but that's okay, just to stay within context here. The revitalizing and having a thriving downtown does have many components. I think you're absolutely right, and I think the master plan does a good job of listing what those might be. But I think, we'll talk a little bit more about that in the next one, but thank you for your input. Okay, any other? Yeah.
What Katie said is really good points. Being on the common all the time, I see it all the time. I'm lucky enough to be in a building that my landlord takes very good care of, but I'm not, if they're code issues, hopefully we can take care of it. A lot of them aren't. It's just, some of them aren't. I shouldn't say a lot, but some of them would love to take care of, but we probably can't, but we could to look into trying to do something.
And enforcing the code.
Yeah. If it can be enforced, I want to see it be done too. My fear is that some of the things that we actually see probably might not be enforceable. But I'd love to look into it.
Yeah, something to look at for sure. Okay, good. Any other public input? All right, members, which way am I gonna go today? Probably this way. Joe?
Just one thing quickly. I love the town, and it seems like this is the 2 weeks that I find the most difficult, right before election and right before town meeting. When there's articles or different people running, and the only point I want to make is that because you're opposite of something doesn't mean you're a bad person. You just have a different point of view, and I hope people can see that and work through that. And social media is a wonderful thing, and it's helped us keep in contact with a lot of people, but some of the things that are on different social media aren't the facts, or they're talking about someone's character, or because so-and-so doesn't like this subject, he or she can't be a good person. So I love the town. It's a great village. It's great people. We've done a lot of work together. We've been successful, and I just hope people just stick to the facts, get the things done, and if you win, you lose, and we'll move on and not make it more than it should be.
Well said. All set, Joe?
So I had the honor of going to Bill Cole's retirement party. It was a well turnout. It was a great party for a guy that's, doing a lot for the town. He's still on the PMDC, even though he stopped working for the town, and will continue his commitment to Littleton. So it was good to see all the folks out.
We could make it. Mr. Levy?
Well, I'll probably, since you gave me the opportunity to be the first to say what all three of us could say, we all enjoyed Saturday donating our faces for the robotics team to have green pies thrown at them, and the interest of helping them raise money, and that was a lot of fun. We were also proud of them, and And I would much rather get a pie in the face than, as Mr. Knox alluded to, find out on a website that I can't even get access to, a Facebook page, Indivisible, where I am slammed personally over my finances or allegations thereof, and not even have the opportunity to get on there and make any comment about it. But there's a lot more good going on in town than bad, so people can see through that.
Yeah, so obviously, we all volunteered our time and our faces on Saturday. It was a great opportunity. These young people are a testament to a lot of volunteers, a lot of people that stepped forward, a lot of companies that came forward. And Joe, we've all talked about community, whether it was the 300th, when people that you just wouldn't otherwise have come together with. We all came together, and it was kind of a good opportunity. I selected Sergeant Bernard to
Break your nose, nearly.
plant the pie in my face. It was a little more good. I think my nose is straight now, but I can't wear sunglasses. Still pretty, my nose is a little bruised, but this is Sergeant Bernard taking a little too much pleasure in burying a cream pie in my face.
Look at the smile on his face.
He's really happy.
Yeah, contract negotiations broke down with the police department. But it is a great community, and it was high quality cream.
It was really good.
Anyone else want to email me photos?
So we do, there are some photos of the three of us with egg on our face, if you will, but it's, we all do volunteer, we step forward and we put ourselves out there, so, people are gonna say stuff about us, and, I try to tell my kids, it's, no matter what, it's gonna happen. But we are all from the same community, we do have families, and just be sensitive to that and just be respectful, and I think that we're all trying to get to the same place, we're all trying to take care of our small community, and we may not all be going down the exact same path, but we're all looking to do what's best for the town.
I have one thing. So, this is Melissa's last meeting. She's I had the honor of running with her 3 years ago, and it was awesome to win an election with her. It's great to have her on the board. She's gonna be sorely missed. I think, this is the type of person that this town, there's more good people in this town than there are bad. And that's what the good thing about this town is. And that's what makes this town great, is people like Melissa will step up, step out of her norm and get into something where, as Chuck said, you're gonna be held accountable, and some is good and some is bad, whether right, wrong, or indifferent. The bad hurts, it stings, we're all human. So, congratulations on your 3 years.
Thank you
you
so
for your
much.
service, and look forward to working with you in the future.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Start with that first. Well, we took this high to each other. I was fortunate enough to
We're
be,
getting a month off, and then we're bringing you back myself.
I was fortunate enough to be the one that got to plant the pie in Melissa's
Yeah, I
face.
picked Chuck.
I was gentle.
You were great, you were great. Somehow still
And we should
managed to get
thank
it
Melissa's
everywhere.
mom, too,
but-
who's here tonight.
Absolutely.
Well, and that's perfect segue into what I wanted to say, and it's funny, because you guys mentioned several other things that I wanted to say, this being my last night in room 103. Obviously, we have town meetings still, and there's still a lot of work to do in just 1 week, but last time sitting here with this amazing group of guys, so a couple of things. Number one, it's been such an amazing honor to serve this town in this capacity. I grew up here. I love this town more than most people probably know, but if you know me at all, you know I bleed Littleton. I can't believe that I got to grow up and sit in this chair and give my time to the thing that I am so passionate about. So thank you to everyone for your faith in me, first of all, and getting me in the seat, and I've worked really hard, and I hope I've done you proud. But I would like to just thank a couple people quickly. I spent a lot of time with the guys around this table, and After 3 years of working with them, I can tell you this town should be really proud to have these guys serving as your selectmen. They love this town just as much as I do, and that's kind of what I found the commonality, and I think you both kind of mentioned it. The commonality is we all want to do what's the right thing for this town. Maybe we all don't agree on exactly the same approach to what we should do or how we should do it, but the passion is in the right place. It's all to do good, right? So I just thank you guys for all your work and all the time and what you do for Littleton. You're really super impressive on top of having a job and a life and everything else. So thank you. And at the end of the table here, I'm always joined by Keith, by Bonnie, by Anthony, by Jen and Clancy and Steve Venuti, Chris, the Chiefs, LCTV, who's always there. Actually, I'm the Eye in the Sky. I'm usually talking with them about logistics during the meeting. They're wonderful. Those are the teams that I spent the most time with, and those are the teams that make these, this town successful. There's a lot of folks that do, but those are the ones that we see the most. So thank you guys for everything. Really appreciate it, especially you, Keith. All right, so I will miss you guys, but I'm not going anywhere anytime soon. I plan to still be active as a citizen and hope to join you all again one day. So, thank you. All right, so. Next agenda item is number 4, and I realize we're a little bit late. Sorry about that, guys. Hopefully we can catch up. Thank you, Keith. And this is for the Littleton Common Smart Sewer Public Information Session. As I just mentioned, our friends from LCTV are upstairs recording this so we can replay it on demand, send out the link. Does my computer not have this thing?
HDMI? HP's a little behind the times.
Oh my goodness. That's SD. Oh, I'm sorry, Keith, can we use your computer?
Sure.
You know what, I have the other computer. Apologies, guys, I didn't dream that my brand new laptop wouldn't be compatible.
Got it ready to go.
Thank you. I just might need a little bit of navigational help.
Well, I'm going to pass you the baton.
Oh, perfect, that'd be great.
Thanks, Mom.
Sorry, Keith.
No problem.
Okay.
Bottom one advances.
Bottom one advances.
You are in control.
Got it. Okay, great. All right, so welcome everyone. Again, we're here for the Littleton Common Smart Sewer Public Information Session. So I'm going to kick it off. I'm going to take us through a couple of different things. First of all, welcome and introductions. Here we are. I'm going to take us back through the background. So where have we been and how did we get here? And then update us on our current state, so where are we at right now. Thought it was important to remind ourselves what is a smart sewer and touch upon some of the key aspects of that and what are the benefits from having one and from taking on this endeavor. Talk a little bit about financing and how that might work and who can participate, and then end off with some FAQs. Then I'm going to hand it over to our engineering firm who we just awarded the contract to just earlier in the agenda, and they're going to go through what the phases are and what are included in each of the phases. And then we'll go ahead and wrap it up with next steps, and then we'll open it up to Q&A. So if any questions, happy to answer them. All right. All right. So you know what I'm going to do? Just give me 1 second here, guys. I'm going to bring it up on my side just so I can look forward and not to the side.
Do you want me to drive so you can drive any
Yeah, thank you. Thank you. See, what a good team. All right. So from a background perspective, where we've been. Well, back in 2001, the Water Department and the Health Board of Health raised some concerns to the Board of Selectmen. So those included seeing a diminished supply of the aquifer and well water being replenished. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about the contributing factors there and show a map of kind of how that works and why that is. But that was one of the concerns flagged. Another is a high concentration of nitrates down in the downtown area, and I'll spend a little bit more time on that item in particular. At the same time, the assessors were advising that, in order to keep Littleton's finances healthy and strong, we need to put a focus on economic development. And as part of that, sewer was identified as a significant opportunity to help us with economic development. So all those concerns and points were being raised, and it really got the attention of the selectmen and other folks and organizations in town, and they started to do a lot of work to figure out what could we do, what should we do, etc. So in 2010, the Littleton Common Sewer Feasibility Committee was established, and they did a lot of work. And actually, it's all out on the Littleton town website. If you just type sewer in the search and hit go, it's the first link that comes up. And on that page is a lot of the documents and work that they did still out there. I've got the hyperlink in this presentation, but again, really easy to find. But anyway, they worked with the Charles River Watershed Association on a lot of different things. They did a sewer feasibility study. Part of that was, surveying the community, talking with the potential participants and businesses, looking at various sites, evaluating a traditional sewer system versus a smart sewer system. So they went through that whole process, and in the end, they unanimously recommended a smart sewer solution. Okay, back at our last special town meeting, the town approved $252,000 for the Littleton Common Sewer Strategic Plan. And just recently, our Littleton 2030 Master Plan was adopted. And I mentioned this a little bit earlier, but there were some key strategic themes that we heard throughout the master plan process, and Littleton Common was definitely identified as a strategic theme. Those of you that remember the process, there was a charrette dedicated to the Littleton Common. It was the only charrette that was really pointed to a place in town. A lot of good ideas came out of that, a lot of discussion at all the master planning workshops and community forums about the common, and wastewater disposal came out as one of the top challenges to resolve. Now, Ms. Cruz made a good point within revitalizing the common and keeping a vibrant downtown. There are many different things that we can do underneath that theme, but wastewater disposal was identified as a top challenge. It's right at the front of the master plan. So that's kind of where we've been. So where are we right now? And actually, I need to modify it. Oh. It's not live, right? I gotta go up here too. Chuck, you were right. Here you go. So where are we now? And we just had this conversation. So the RFQ for the Littleton Common Smart Sewer Design took place in March. So Chris gave us an update on that just a little while ago. We had 19 inquiries, and 4 well-qualified finalists that applied. 3 came in for interviews. There was a process. Those were all recorded. They're out on the Littleton's website, again, where I mentioned, if you query sewer. And interviews went really, really well, and we had the tough decision of picking between 3 very great candidates. But we did, and Weston and Sampson was selected, and earlier tonight we awarded the contract to them. So we're really pleased to have them here, and thank you guys for joining us, and we'll hear from them in just a little while. All right, at our next special town meeting, May 1st, Article 5 is requesting an additional $200,000 for the strategic plan. So again, our team here will go through what's in the phases, but at a high level, what does that funding get us? It gets us more details on a financial evaluation. So I have high-level information to share tonight, but really, there's different financial models that we can enter into with public, private partnerships, or solely public or solely private. There's lots of options. And on top of that, the technology that you choose to use can influence the financing as well. So part of this additional funding is to really get pencil sharpened from a financial perspective. Same thing with site selection. So right now there's options, and we've got to whittle that down and really talk with the potential participants and talk with potential other businesses and sites and figure out what might be realistic sites to propose. Again, public participation will be a huge part of this, so, and you guys will say a little bit more on that part, but it's really key to make this whole thing success. Lastly, I mentioned the technology preferences. So there's lots of options. We can do or not do a lot of different things here. And so we've got to really figure out what technologies we want to use. And then we'll get preliminary design plans. Okay, so that's what we're looking for. Again, we'll go into a lot more detail on all of those things. But just to get us oriented from a timeline perspective, and here we are tonight doing a recorded public information system, session to prep for town meeting. Oh, and by the way, you guys can feel free to chime in or comment, especially the team here. Sorry. Just and Chris as well. You guys just chime in if you want to add or comment.
Doing great.
Thanks. All right, next slide, please. Thank you. All right, so let's talk a little bit about a smart sewer, and I'm going to compare it a little bit to the traditional sewering system. So a smart sewer is using the latest and greatest cutting-edge technology with a real focus on energy efficient design. It's got a lot of benefits to it, and I'll go through benefits in a little while, but it's really kind of cool, actually, the way it works and the benefits that we can get from it. It's if you think of a traditional sewer system, it's a large system, it's above ground, it's a heavy upfront cost, right? These smart sewer systems are smaller, and they're able to be modularized and phased and added to, so that the amount of energy it's using is actually smaller, and we can also really control how it grows. But what it does when it's actually doing its job, it's actually creating energy. So it's using less energy and it's creating energy. And you can see it's a little bit hard to see, but on the diagram in the top right, what's happening is it's taking the water and potentially food waste, it's collecting it, it's treating it, it's purifying it, and then it's generating energy while it's doing that whole process. And we can take that energy and we can resell it. We can use that money to offset the cost of being a participant in the sewer. We can use it to heat or cool surrounding buildings to the system. Energy itself, it's generated, we can use it, we can benefit from it. It also, in that process, it has a lot of different benefits to the environment. So not only is it treating, if we look at water, right, it's taking out the nitrates, it's taking out all the, it's really purifying it, and it's going to put the water back out in a drinkable state. Now, we might not use it for drinking, but it will purify it, and we can use that water for, lawn watering, for businesses in their sinks and their toilets, for our facilities. We can reuse the purified water. And not only that, but really wastewater is treated as a resource in this whole process. It makes sure, and I'm going to go into a diagram and hopefully it'll be more clear, but it makes sure the water is going back to where it came from. And therefore, we're replenishing our aquifer and our well water, and it's providing groundwater protection, and we can talk about some really specific benefits on that in a minute. But it's really, if I just fast forward, actually, you know what, let's go to the green map. So it's
Little thumbs.
you know what, I'm going to just point a little bit here. So let's talk about the well water replenishment and getting the water back to where it needs to be from. So 2 maps to make this picture hopefully clear. This first one that you're looking at is various maps that have been overlaid, and the concentrated green areas are the ones for priority for water protection in our town. So you can see the downtown area, if we add up all the reasons why water protection is important, downtown area is definitely a focus area that we need to make sure we're protecting. Now if you go to the next slide.
You can do that.
Thank you. Okay, the dots represent where our wells are, okay? And an important orientation is Route 110. So Route 110 kind of is like the apex geographically, right? It kind of goes up to a slant, and then everything goes downhill from there. Why that's important? Our wells are predominantly located over here, but the majority of people actually live over here. This is where, if we kind of look at it from a population standpoint, most of us are on this side of 110. But again, the water is over here. Now the problem is we're having to take the water from this side of town and port it over to this side of town, but the water has no way to get back again because of the slant. So we're just transferring the water over here, never replenishing it through any sort of concentrated effort. And it's a strain. It's a strain on some of our streams and rivers, and that's kind of where the well water replenishment goes into. So now if you go one slide further, what the smart sewer system will do is, rather than in conventional, it's kind of not really being reused, and we're not really getting any benefit from it. And by the way, the septics in the center of town don't remove nitrates also, so that's just something to note. But a smart sewer is actually taking all that, the water, the nutrients, and making sure it's coming back again to where it's going. So it's reducing the carbon, it's making sure the water is reused and sent back to the place where it came from. We're generating potential income, and by the way, there's nutrients that are being reclaimed in this process as well. So when we talk about making sure, thanks Chuck, and now we actually need to go, yes, thank you. Perfect. So if we talk about really returning that water back to where it was extracted, that's what that means. Okay, another key aspect of the smart sewer is that it's really smart growth. So it's focusing our development in a district so we reduce sprawl. If we think about our downtown right now, businesses that really require almost any water can't move in. We heard the challenges that the bookstore had with getting a coffee machine or a little, cafe area. Megan Ford told us her story about Hear Smart Audiology and how they almost couldn't move in because they're a medical business and they use more water than we had capacity for, actually. And so what's going to happen? If businesses can't move in to where we want them to move in, they're going to sprawl. They're going to start popping up in different places, and really, again, back to the master plan and focusing growth. We want that dense downtown to generate the revenue, generate the commercial tax base. And also another key point is it's an opt-in model. So a traditional system, everyone has to pay, whether you're going to, all the taxpayers have to pay, whether you're going to use the system or not. But in the smart sewer system, it's an opt-in model, and only those that opt in are the ones that pay. So pay to play. Okay, now skip a couple.
So you want to
Good, perfect. All right, so I mentioned a few of these, but I think it's worth going through them one more time. So if we talk about what are the benefits from doing this, well, there's at least 4 kind of categories, if not more, but I think these are the key ones to mention. Back to the graph I was just showing, a sustainability of a clean water supply. So we've heard the concerns about replenishing the well water, replenishing the aquifer. By doing this, we'll be addressing those concerns. As well, we'll be increasing the Beaverbrook base flow by making sure there's a sustainable source of recharge upstream. So we'll see less strain on the streams, which is a good thing. And again, water reuse. So it's not just being imported from one side to town to the other and lost, essentially. It's being, again, treated and cleaned and able to be reused. Environmental. So let's talk a little bit about nitrates. So this type of system would reduce the nitrate burden. Littleton's downtown right now is at 4 to 6 parts per million in terms of nitrates. At 10 parts per million, the Department of Environmental Protection will require a town to do something about it. That's a level that you can't get past 10 without DEP coming in and saying you must address this, and that will mean a sewer. And at that point, we will not be able to apply for grants, we will not be eligible for those grants, and we'll be in reactive mode based on government regulations. At 20 parts per million, there are known health risks, and that's why the DEP comes in at 10 and says you must do something about this. But this system, again, I mentioned earlier, the septics downtown right now, they don't actually filter out nitrates. We basically just rely on the rain to dilute what's being injected into the ground, which is a pretty significant rate of nitrate deposits. So this would really be being proactive about that problem. Reduces the methane gas in the environment. And again, I've talked several times now about energy generation. From an economic perspective, we can estimate around $2 to $2.5 million of new annual revenue based on the greater density and property value in the common and industrial area. So we all know we have a lot of things that we want to fund in this town, and the additional commercial tax base, I think, would be a great thing. And on top of that, it lets businesses that I think that we want in the downtown, it lets them have the ability to set up. You know, if you need water, then this would be the solution, right? I know not everybody wants to see any more businesses in town, totally get that, but again, what we heard through the master plan process is that revitalizing and having a thriving downtown is really key, and folks do want to see, you know, a cafe or a breakfast shop or
Mixed-use buildings.
mixed-use buildings, those kind of things, yeah, which definitely would not be possible without this.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely. And then in the future, there's lots of cool stuff you can do. So you've got the possibilities with the energy generation, and what do we do with that? The anaerobic digestion of organic matter, so we can actually, you know, recycle food, take it from farms or from the town. We only have the transfer station. That's how we deal with food waste right now. That's it. So we could use this as a way to you know, process our food and actually get something out of it. We'll generate the energy, and on top of that, the materials that come out when it's done can be used by farmers for fertilizer. So then we can generate, yeah, revenue from that as well. And we can reduce our own disposal fees for septic and food waste also. And lastly, I mentioned this already, again, we heard it time and time again, revitalizing Littleton Common was a master plan strategic theme and goal. All right, let's talk a little bit about financing. And again, it's a little high level, and because that is what this next phase needs to do, is to get more concrete. But I like this diagram because it shows in the red line, that's how a conventional sewer is built and the capacity that it's built for. It's built out day one for maximum total capacity in the future that you are anticipating. The smart sewer is, again, more of a phased or modular approach. You start out small, you figure out what your user base is, you know, make a success of that, and then you build on and move on from there. And we've definitely heard other parts of town, the lake being one of them, that we really should look at, that, you know, possibly need a sewer. So this is kind of the first step, and then we figure out, you know, how or where do we need to add on from there. But you can see the cost would be significantly less because you don't build out for the maximum possible on day one. You start small and you grow from there. Okay, now who pays? So first of all, in general, this process is grant eligible and reimbursable. And when we talk about next steps, that will definitely be one of the next steps, is applying for grants. And there's several different possibilities under that front. Not only that, but our state legislators have said they have a willingness to work with us on getting a budget line item added to help us with the costs as well. So we do have ways of getting the initial kind of investment back again. But in terms of monthly fees, who is paying? Only the users of the system pay, and they pay proportionally. So the customers that are larger, that use more of the system, would pay more. So you pay for what you use. And again, in terms of, you know, well, what would the cost be? Well, that would be determined in the next phase, but the whole goal here, and I've heard you guys say it as well, is to make this system affordable to use. I've heard numbers ranging from $37 to $140, and I know the team is focused on getting that closer to the 40 than anything else. I couldn't give you numbers right now, but those are the ranges that we've heard, and it's top of mind to make this project affordable, so we do get the folks participating. Okay,
I'll
yes,
just jump in here.
please, go ahead.
So one of the things that, when we talk about grants and funding sources, what we're doing is pretty unique. It's cutting edge. We're early adapters, and so there's a number of different sources that we're hoping to go after for funding. Our legislators have, you mentioned, have expressed some interest in helping us to lead by example, to set kind of the tone across the Commonwealth, you know, with Weston and Sampson and with, you know, our own departments, to lead by example and kind of set the stage so that others can follow what we do. So we've done a lot of homework, we've got a number of sources that we're looking into. But the fact that our legislators are interested in this, and they certainly would love to have this feather in their cap. So it's, there's a strong willingness from them to help us to find sources of funding.
And we've had pretty good success with those guys when we have a priority,
Right.
so. Great, thanks. Yes, please do continue to chime in. One more thing.
I'm sorry.
And then lastly, exactly, at the next town meeting, Article 5A, again, is asking for that additional funds, which brings the full funding up to $452,000. And again, we just mentioned the grants. There's a $150,000 grant right off the bat that we can start applying for in May. And Chuck summarized it well. Lots of opportunities there, so the team will be pursuing all of those. Okay. All right, in terms of scope and participation, so if we think about what's in scope, so it's the business overlay district from the CVS down to the Littleton Police Station, and from Acton Toyota all the way through to the Littleton Inn, okay? No one's required to participate. It is completely an opt-in model, and at the end of the day, if there aren't enough people that sign up, then the project won't move forward. But that being said, if I go back to the Littleton Commons Sewer Feasibility Committee, in their survey, property owners in that district, 95% of them responded that they were interested. So we feel like we're going to get interest here, especially with the eye on being competitive in terms of how much it costs per month. Yes, please.
Clarified, and we've had discussions in the past, while that, for important reasons, is the target area. If there are people or properties that lie on the fringes of it and there's interest, there's nothing that prevents us from changing the map to expand to accommodate.
Thank you. Great point. Did I do this already? Yes. Okay. So just a couple of questions that I think we heard come up a couple of different times, so thought they were worth pointing out. So will the sewer change our town's character? And the reality is that our town's character is within our control. It's within our zoning where we can control it. And the sewer doesn't change the zoning, right? The types of buildings that can go in there don't change by having a sewer. It just enables more possibilities that aren't possible today in terms of the types of businesses that can locate down in the common. And as a point of comparison, Harvard and Groton have sewered their downtowns, and I think, if you take a look, their town character is really well retained. So I don't think that should be a concern. It's just, again, it's the environmental, the economic, and the water benefits that we're gonna see. Will the facilities smell? So no, it's a self-contained facility, state-of-the-art, again, and no smell emerges. I've seen the pictures of them located next to schools, to churches. Yes, Mr. Stoddard?
Point.
The Point has
This
one.
same system, smaller scale, but basically at the point, and you don't have the smell up there, so it's a
Great.
great example.
Great point.
No
Fantastic.
point intended.
No point intended.
White veal.
It just osmosis.
And then lastly, so where will the facility be located? Well, that's part of this next phase, is I think there's been some sites historically back in the old survey located, but that needs to all be dusted off, and engagement with the public, the participants, and kind of out-of-the-box thinking as well is needed to really pick a site.
Professionals.
And having our professional team in place to help us do that. Okay, so that was my introduction, and I'm going to hand it over now to Weston Sampson. So you guys, I don't know if you want, how you want to.
Do you want us to sit at the table
That's
or
a good
face
question.
you on?
Yeah.
Want to pull the chairs up and sit?
I'm good standing, but they probably want the,
As long as you're close
yeah,
enough.
yeah.
is there one overhead too?
Yes.
Look at that. Excellent.
It's magic.
Well, I won't stand in front of you, so is there any way to tell if it doesn't pick me up? Someone will see.
They'll text me.
So, thank you very much, Weston Sampson. My name is Kent Nichols. I'm the principal for Weston Sampson. With me tonight is Steve Peterson. We're two of the folks here at Weston Sampson that will work on your project. It's a pretty complex project over the life of where we'll go. from the very beginning to a point where you actually can build something and start to serve folks. And because of that, it's going to take a lot of different steps. So very beginning of that is to lay down the concept and make sure that the concept works. So we came into this with a pretty well-developed vision from Littleton's side that was given to us, and that was done through your prior planning and the town meetings and the public involvement that you've had in town. And now the step that we've been hired to do is to help get that more concrete, help go from a point where you have a vision to get it to a point where we can work out the details and answer some of those more specific questions and get to a point where we can actually build something. And build something that is as close to the vision that you've laid out as a community as we can possibly do. So within the confines of trying to be logical, we lay that out into a number of steps that we think go in order so that we can get from today to the end of the phase 1, which is the concept planning. And then from the end of phase 1, get through phase 2, a little more of the preliminary design and implementation steps, so that we're ready to actually build a project for you. And along the way, as the chairman has said, chairwoman has said, there are steps where we're going to come back and talk a lot and get input from the public, because this is, in the end, a project that will serve the community, and it requires community input and involvement to that degree. So if you flip the slides, just as an outline of where we are, the phase 1 is really refining the concept. We know where we want to get to in general, it's a good vision, but we have to take the steps in order so we can get to that point. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to refine that service area that we talked about, as we said. That may change over time. The beauty of a smart sewer system is it's an adaptive management approach. Adaptive management is you can deal with things as they change in the community. Your system isn't locked into one thing. You start, and 10 years later you have to only build what you thought you might build 10 or 15 years before. We can adapt this program. It's part of the smart technology that you do. So to start with, though, we're going to lay out the initial service area and the goals of what that is. That's going to allow us then to build flows and loads. How much wastewater are we going to get? How much water can we then purify and return back to the environment? What are the loads like? What are the nutrient loads? What are we going to have to deal with from an organic standpoint? How much, if we're going to do the energy generation piece, how much organics do we have to generate that energy? And those steps. Probably the biggest challenge that you face when doing one of these systems is getting to the point of being able to get the treated effluent back into the ground on a permanent basis when you don't have full reuse of the effluent. And the goal will be, and it'll be pretty common in the summertime to get a lot of effluent reuse, but the goal will eventually be to, have a site where, when not everybody wants to run sprinklers or whatever we have for reuse options, to get that water back in the ground. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to revisit, with those flows and loads in mind, we're going to revisit groundwater discharge. We're going to look at the site, and we're going to retake the screening documents that you put together in the prior round in the 2012 report, and we're going to modify that a little bit and use some newer tools that have been developed over time, and really refine that to get us back to some better information on where we can get this water in the ground. We are then going to look at the technologies, and in the conceptual phase, that technology screen, we're still going to look at the anaerobic digestion, the energy generation, the organics to energy pieces, potential reuse of the solids, potential generation of heat, potential generation of other renewable energy sources on the site. Absolutely look at potential to reuse effluent. But we're going to do those on a collective method just to kind of scan through them and pretty quickly reprioritize what was in the original report from a vision standpoint to kind of get our arms around from a concept what this is really going to look like. And that's going to be important because one of the next things we need to do is this Community Water and Energy Resource Center that we're going to have to site. We need to think about what it is. What are the confines? What is that facility going to look like? And how do we describe it in a number of different ways? So we're going to do some site prioritization screening for that as well, for the quirk. And then refinement of the sites for both the groundwater discharge and the quirk, it becomes a really important step. So one of the main things that's a little different in the concept planning that we do when we do these types of things is a big component of smart thought is making sure you don't step past a portion of the decision making that seems obvious. And the thing that a lot of communities do when they set these projects up is they think you need one site. One site where the quirk is the same site where the groundwater discharge will occur. In this case, we can look at different sites. We can have the actual processing center where we're going to generate the energy and bring the wastewater and treat it. It can be different from where it's going to end up. And in fact, that may actually be the best technology to use. So we're going to talk a lot about the number of sites and how those go and do some good assessment of that. We're also going to go down and actually start working on the ground to evaluate the groundwater discharge capabilities from a hydrogeological standpoint. One of the most important things that happens is what can the ground actually accept in detail? And we can model that, we can do physical investigation out on the sites and actually get to the point of putting that on paper, really understanding what we can do long term. And that'll help us come to the realization of what's a good site. From that information, we'll assemble a conceptual plan. And the conceptual plan now is well informed, having reviewed the technologies that you've appropriately looked at, including your vision, having refined some of the decision making, really having site information at this point. It will now allow us to actually put together layouts of the collection system, layout of what the quirk is going to look like, where's the groundwater discharge going to be, how does all that system fit together. And then, knowing how that concept plan fits together, we can now make an informed decision and assessment of how much it's going to cost to build. And this is a very important step, because now we have to actually lay out budgetary costs, not just for what the construction will be, but also for what the operation and maintenance will be. And then we lay in, at the same time, some of those resource recovery options that you've talked about with the smart sewering to bring some cash back into the process. And we do that kind of baseline costing. So we come out of a conceptual plan with a report, but more importantly, we come out of it with information we can process through our initial financial plan. The goal of the financial plan is to get to affordability, is to show that the project is affordable. Because the key aspect you don't want to lose is if you've got 95% of the folks in the service area who are interested in taking part in this project, that's a huge resource for the community. You can't lose that resource. You can't afford to have that number go to 50% or 30%. The biggest factor affecting that's going to be affordability. When folks see that we can actually develop a plan that is truly a smart sewer system, and we can use smart financing, we'll be able to actually keep those folks on board by doing a good job of showing them the benefits financially. A big part of that is a good financial plan. Part of the financial plan, as we talked about, is finding funding. Seeking any type of funding available, existing grant programs and specialty funding that we can get will be critical to the town. Really good project delivery options, considering design build operate options and some of the alternative delivery methods that are now pretty much becoming more common in the Commonwealth as we go. Much more often seen for municipal projects where they weren't in the past ever seen for municipal projects. And we're going to look at those options to try to find the best way to deliver the work and help us refine those costs down so we can put together what we would term a pro forma, essentially the same thing a private entity would use to show that it's a good business venture. And that will be a key factor in determining laying out the groundwork for the affordability so we can then go out, meet with those key project partners and get those folks committed to the service area. Again, all throughout this, we're going to try to enhance the communication as much as we can. You know, the Selectmen have been the champions of trying to keep the public involved in the project, including through meetings like tonight. We see that continuing throughout the project, and obviously getting as much public input as we can, but also getting input from the community partners, from the businesses and the folks who are going to use the system. So that kind of wraps up phase one.
Can I just jump in real quickly?
Sure.
We were talking about some of the financing and stuff like that. And
Yeah.
one of the town of Easton, I don't know if you don't know, speak this at all, but the town of Easton recently secured $8.5 million in, I think it was 0%
0% SRF loan.
SRF funding. So there's a lot of those funding sources available, and that's what we're going to be seeking out. Beyond grants, if we do have to do any financing, there's a lot of 0% funding available to us. And that was a public-private project, I believe, right, the Easton project?
Yeah, there's quite a few good recent examples.
Right.
And the 0% financing is an excellent approach to try to use for your financing. But I think on top of that, you will actually be eligible for some other programs. And we're going to do our best to turn over those rocks.
Right.
The key is people don't line up to hand you money for projects.
You have to go
You got to go
rocks.
doing some digging.
Yeah.
And that's going to be one of the goals. As we get to the end of the conceptual phase, it's going to be really important that we can show that our project is feasible. And it goes back to having that word feasibility in this. If we can show that the project is feasible, we can drive more funding. You can also get more partners on board, because partners like to make good financial decisions. if they think you've got a pie-in-the-sky thing you're handing them, they're not going to be as excited about it as if they see that everything works and you've done your homework and really can come up with a good concept plan to lay in front of them. So the key of the concept plan is that this is a pretty well-developed and confirmed vision by the time you break out of phase one. And that's our goal, for where we want to end up with phase one.
So I think with the collaboration with Weston and Sampson and Board of Selectmen and the town as a whole, we can find some of these sources and help turn those rocks over.
Absolutely. Now, phase two is a little, if you just click back real quick, because I didn't talk about phase two. Phase two is a little more gray.
Yeah, it does, sit down.
I will finish this real quick. Steve and I agreed I wouldn't even go through the whole phase two. Phase two is a little more gray. By detail, we have to find a few places where we have to fill this in. Probably the biggest challenge is if we find a site or two sites for hydrogeological discharge of the treated effluent that don't work, we may have some redoing of some sites that will cause us to do a little more detail here. But the detailed hydrogeological assessment is the part where we actually do enough work on the site with permanent wells and other model, and an actual analytical model that we'll do, to prove to DEP that we can get a permit for the site. And that's the real test, because until we do that, and that's a pretty costly approach, until we do that on the site, we're not going to really know where we are. So the real part of phase two is now taking that defined concept and working it through a few of the same steps, but now in a much greater level of detail. And in particular, the things we want to do here is refine the decision-making for technologies. Refine the decision as to, how exactly we're going to do the digester. This is exactly where we would go out and seek some additional funding to help from some of those sources that want to see us do that. The state has an organics to energy program they're enforcing, and they want to see the communities get funding and advance that technology to generate energy from waste. So we're going to really look to enhance that. Our goal is to get through the phase two and at the end have much better detail, have a really sets of drawings that show the layouts, be able to answer questions for people about when different pieces of the system would be built, be able to look very much at the way you've shown the smart sewer phasing, much better quality of information on the phasing, and kind of how that whole thing will wrap together so that we can actually move out of phase two, again with a good background in public engagement, into an actual final design permitting phase where you'll be ready to implement a project. And it'll be a little fluid because of that. So phase two is a really important step, and the beauty is it's going to get a lot done as we move through those pieces. And then I think I'm supposed to turn it back over to you.
We do not mean to cut you short at all, we're just a bit, you keep going.
I was done.
Oh, you're done?
Oh,
Okay.
I think I was done, yeah.
Sorry.
So, yep. So I think I'm turning it back over to you.
Okay.
Any questions for the board?
Well, we're staying for questions anyway.
Yeah, thank you, don't go anywhere.
You can stay, just sit down.
Okay, so next step, so we talked a lot about applying for the various grants, and that one for $150,000 is in short order for May. The May town meeting is coming up here, where we're asking for the additional $200,000 to cover what was in the phases that was just reviewed, and then we'd get started on phase one and then phase two, and then at a future town meeting, we'd be back to finish out with the full design and builds funding request. And I think the next slide is just, sorry Chuck, I think it's links, hyperlinks. So that first one is to the town website where the Littleton Common Sewer Feasibility Study Committee is, lots of hyperlinks within that one page, tons of information. And again, just the master plan, which talks a lot about the common. And I think that's it. Okay, so now that brings us to the Q&A portion and questions from the audience.
Can't be trusted.
Yes, name and address, please.
Warren Terrell, 14 Mill Lane, Littleton, retired civil engineer, and a former member of the Sewer Study Committee. I heartily support the concept of the detailed studies that are going on and being proposed. Weston & Sampson is an excellent firm. I've been in competition with the firm many times, and they are excellent. There's no question about that. My major concern relative to the phase one work is goes to, I think, the issue relative to the ability of a project of this nature to generate revenue, both in the near term and in the long term. I think there are some estimates of revenues on the order of over $1 million, perhaps as high as $2 million. The concern that I have in some past experience, and admittedly I've been retired for 13 years, so I'm really old. A concern I have is that this is a relatively small wastewater system, both in terms of collection and in treatment and disposal. But it is extremely complex in the implementation and the siting of these kinds of systems. The concept of adding a potential revenue source of outside septage or food waste is, in comparing to the size of the wastewater flows that we're going to generate here from the center, is highly problematic and at very high risk, particularly when you think in terms of the variability of the food waste and the strengths, that type of thing, compared to the amount of flow we're having. That is a very high-risk adventure. And I certainly hope that Weston and Sampson looks at that very carefully, because all these options, and there are many, many options as to how you phase it, how you serve it, how you own it, how you operate it. Every one of those items has to be justified in terms of life cycle costing, meaning capital and operation and maintenance and financing costs. Those all come together into a big, no pun intended, financial pot. And what comes out of that and hopefully bubbles to the surface is a project that is affordable. Okay, now, and if you have a major item of a revenue stream that you're going to depend on, and if that revenue stream is highly at risk, then that puts the entire project's feasibility at risk. And those costs, which we as a town are going to support through our bonding, the users are going to pay back to the town monies, and those are going to reduce that debt. If a major source is at risk, then we as a town are at risk, because those bonds will be paid back no matter what. So I would encourage the Selectmen, and I would encourage Weston and Sampson to be particularly cognizant and careful relative to your life cycle costing. And good luck, boys.
Madam Chair, if I may address, Mr. Taro, thank you very much, first of all, for serving on the feasibility committee in the past, and for your thoughts and input. One thing I want to clarify is when the chair was speaking about revenue, that was directly related to if there's a sewer at the common area, the benefits, the economic benefits from the town side, from an assessment standpoint and from tax revenue. All right. So it's a very conservative number right now. We haven't even factored in the potential tipping fees or solids being sold back to anybody, farms or what have you. So
that is a comforting factor.
Yeah, so those numbers were strictly based on assessors and assessments.
Thank you.
Very good. I thought I saw, yes, Mr. Sanders.
George Sanders, 672 Great Road. My concern would be that do we have enough participants to go in on this small plant that you have now? I understood the mention that if you didn't have then it would stop there, it wouldn't go forward. My concern is that if you develop this and put quite a bit of money into it, and you get to the point that you need to add some people to make it work, is the town at that time going to say, okay, we're going to push this through to the town for the town to come on this system as a whole? Because I think that if you start out on one thing and telling us that you have the right to opt in if you want to be in, if you don't want to be in, you don't opt in, and if you come to the point that you don't have enough people, enough businesses to make the plant operate, and you already put X dollars into this plant, normally you just don't stop right there and say, okay, throw your hands up. Usually you're going to have to take in consideration, if you did do that, this being a small plant, I don't know where they're going to put the plant here, but if you did go town-wide, are we going to have other supplemental plants throughout the town? And if they're going to merge in a particular location, and if the water is drinkable, I don't understand why is it that the system doesn't allow that drinkable water to be reused instead of putting it back in the ground.
Okay, I think you had a couple of different
Yeah.
points. Let's start
So
with
if I could, Mr. Sanders, thank you for your comments. So to talk about the system and how it's going to be rolled out, so a conventional system, traditional system, would be built to the max, so that the potential is everybody can tie into it at some point in time. And that's high on the cost up front, and you're not gonna get the kind of flows that you need to get in order to keep it really effective and efficient. What we're looking at is the whole premise behind the smart sewer is, it is modular, so we can build it based on the common overlay district and the common village district. Based on those lines that we've kind of drawn around the map, anybody within that would be within the pool of folks that we would say, do you want to opt in? So that would be the first group that would potentially be served by by a project. If we determined that, the chair mentioned maybe the lake would be someplace that, as we realized that this was very productive, we were getting a lot of benefits from it, not just the environmental benefits, but there was also, we were creating revenue or what have you. If we saw that this was meeting our expectations, exceeding our expectations, then we could expand it and open it up so that we could put maybe another plant online, or tie some other folks into it that are beyond the reach right now. There's also, that's why these guys are here, is to kind of tell us, based on taking a look at everything that we have. They talked about site selection, things like that. The Point has a sewer treatment plant on their premises right now. There's the potential that we could maybe do something with them, where there'd be some sort of a partnership with them, where we could do some tie-in. So nothing's off the table, but we're not looking to force people to get into it. We're not looking to grow it across the entire town. It's probably not feasible to do that. Jump in?
And we don't even start until we have critical mass of opt-in users who can pay for the system. So it wouldn't get borrowed or built, George, until, we have enough identified users who are ready to participate.
One other point there. My concern is that water is the most precious commodity that we have. So if this water is drinkable, why would we take and put it back into the ground instead of finding other means for use for the water?
You hit the nail on the head. There's both the reuse as well as the replenishing the water supply. So that treated water absolutely can be used to water lawns, water fields. You'd be used in facilities like for sinks and toilet flushing. I don't know that we'd actually want to drink it. You could, but I don't know if that's exactly the.
But you said that it was drinkable. So if you're talking about gray water, I understand gray water, but you said that you will purify it back to the point that it's drinkable.
Do you guys maybe want to clarify a little bit?
Yeah, I'll try to take that a little bit. It is possible to treat the water, and in essence, the water that we treat will be treated to a degree where the effluent is extremely high quality. In many ways, it'll be higher quality than is what is required for drinking water. In many ways, for certain pollutants. However, Massachusetts regulations do not allow direct potable reuse for wastewater effluent, which means that even if we create drinkable water, we won't put it back in your pipes and people in Littleton won't drink it. Anytime in the near future, that's going to be the way it's going to be.
Not like the space station.
Right, we're not on the ISS where they do it all the time, and it's been pretty common, so. But the goal is to use it for virtually everything else if we can. The most common way that it's drinkable is, and this is a little bit kind of the way the system works now, is there is only so much water. So the water from everybody's septic system eventually gets into the ground and replenishes aquifers, which eventually go to the wells and get brought back up and put in the system and treated. So essentially you are drinking all the same water over and over again. It's just what we call indirect. It's through the big hydrologic cycle that goes on. So in a way it is there. The challenge with, I think the real answer to your question, the effective answer to your question is the challenge with the reuse is in New England, we don't use landscape watering water year-round, but people use their wastewater facilities year-round. So DEP's current regulations are, even if we can get 100% reuse, we can get committed people to take it for landscape watering, toilet flushing, industrial process uses, all of which have been done in Massachusetts before and can be done on this project. We will still be required to find a site to discharge 100% of the water that we generate by regulation, more so than because we really need it. It seems a bit illogical, but that's essentially the case. So.
The other benefit, if I may, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the other benefit is, right now, if we're pumping water from the Beaverbrook well up to the common, when the toilets are flushed in the common, that water is going into the septic, which is getting back into that groundwater. So it's not making its way back to Beaver Brook where it came from. So you've got the faucet on down at Beaver Brook, and it's going down the drain up at the common. So we want to try to replenish as much as we can back into that aquifer.
The question that I was concerned about, well, you said earlier that there wasn't sufficient water on the common for this particular company that used so much water that you couldn't supply the water. So what is the town going to do if you go in the common there and the water requirement is so high? What are you going to do, put in another well? Well, how are you going to get, my concern would be, how are you going to get adequate water in the common area for the people?
I think there may be some confusion there, Mr. Sanders. I think the chair was talking about specifically Megan Ford's, her business, because it's an audiology practice, because it's under our code as a medical office.
Okay.
There's certain standards that the Board of Health and our building department make her adhere to, and based on, if it was a dentist's office and they're using a lot of water, she was being used, or held to the same standard for water usage as a dentist's office, say. And because there's so much water being used, it wasn't necessarily, there's plenty of water
Okay.
that could come into the building,
Septic
it's
capacity.
once that water is used, the septic capacity after the fact.
Apologies, I should make that more clear. Yes.
Mark Rambacher, Hartwell Avenue. I have a question on the taxes. You basically, Chuck, you said that we're going to generate $2 million in additional tax revenue by having this?
That's
That means each business is basically, there's not more than 100 businesses in 100 buildings in that area. Each business is going to be worth an extra $20,000 in a tax basis in their current state? Or are we talking that they're going to be able to be redeveloped at some point in the future, and we're going to be changing the character in the buildings we have to generate that?
If I may. Check. All right, so those numbers were reached based on the input from the Master Plan Update Steering Committee, and just from the assessors map, and so the input is that you basically just hit the whole thing, Mark.
It's both.
It's, yeah, all the above. So all of the businesses that are there will likely realize a higher assessment for their properties. And a lot of what is there right now, it's no secret that Northern Bank and Trust owns from their building down to Robinson Road, and they plan to redevelop that. We hope that we'll have some hand in that redevelopment based on what you see behind your head, and what the folks in the Master Plan Update Steering Committee have done to incorporate some of what we're looking to develop as the downtown area. So there will be some redevelopment, and it may be commercial on the first floor, professional on the second floor, and 2 floors of residential. This is me just spitballing, but we don't know what it's gonna look like, but we would like to have a hand based on doing all this work over the last couple of years in saying, hey, could you do this?
But aren't we essentially forcing the redevelopment by saying their taxes are going up and they're going to have to figure out a way of making up that additional money in their business to cover their additional taxes? We just said their assessments are going up because they can hook up into a sewer, right? Now you're gonna price out the mom and pop businesses unless they redevelop.
No, their assessments in those cases may go up, but what you're more likely to see, or what we see evidence of at the eyeball level, are empty places that can be filled, and places that could accommodate higher-end users, tenants that currently aren't allowed. And that's why there's been so much support from those property owners in that area, those that have been approached directly on it. It'll impact everybody a little bit differently, no doubt about that.
And one more of a generalization than.
Yeah. We still have our zoning. We have our baseline zoning and we have the overlay zoning for the village district. So it's not a, we can, and the planning board and the town can control what is done downtown.
I'm not saying we can't control what's going on downtown, I'm saying we're forcing things to happen downtown by changing their value. It's the same argument that says as the taxes go up, we're pricing out the seniors. As the taxes go up downtown, we're pricing out the small businesses.
So, well, can we talk about the way that we assess commercial value in this town? And it is that it's on the income approach. And as, for example, we saw where an empty, very fine building had an assessment vastly lower than one that's occupied. And by virtue of the fact that it's, and it's based on the income activity. So so it need not be the self-fulfilling prophecy that's talked about here, that because there's a sewer, therefore everyone's value is going to go up and isn't that awful. No, it's that because there's a sewer, there's the potential for the income to vastly increase, which, believe me, we will capture in additional taxes. But if there's a particular property that is not fortunate enough that whatever the business is to catch the wave, and the income that's being generated from that commercial property isn't catching on, that the way we assess it, the value doesn't go up.
And they don't have to tie in either.
They don't talk to.
Yes, Mr. Zimmerman, you want to?
Just my name is Bob Zimmerman. I live on 83 Sanderson Road. My organization did the study, and the $2 to $2.5 million in additional property taxes is based on properties developing. It's not based on what's there now. If the sewer's put in and what's in the town common industrial area remain the same, the taxes will, property taxes will remain essentially the same. However, in the interviews we did, there's a fair amount of desire to do more with those properties, which is impossible under current circumstances. And as those properties increase in value, the town realizes a $2 to $2.5 million increase in property taxes, as Keith said, associated with the greater income per property as a consequence. That's over, I believe, the $2 to $2.5 million the town recognizes someplace between 3 and 5 years out from the plant coming online.
Thank you. Yes, I think hand up right behind you, Katie, yes.
So Amy Charlie Lewis at Omega, 3 Omega Way. So my question is about the percentage of people that have to kind of agree to opt in. So can you help me understand what it defines, what it means to opt in? Is that they verbally say yes? Do they sign a legally binding agreement? Do they write a check? Like, what is the actual, like, opting in mechanism to really solidify that?
Weston Sampson, could you talk a little bit about that process?
So, and Keith can jump in and help a little bit. So, that's one of the steps that we need to get to refinement, because I would assume to get a business or even a private property to say, I have a choice, I can either connect or I can not connect, but if I don't connect, I can't come back in a week or, a month and say, oh, I changed my mind, I'm gonna have to connect, because that's the way these systems, these opt-in systems have to work. There has to be a hard line drawn at some point, at least for each phase. So because of that, our depiction of this is that in order to make that decision, the property owner needs information. And the main piece of information that you really need is you need financials. You need to know what the numbers are gonna be. So you can tell what the benefit is to you. You'll have to assess how much sewer service is worth to you. If there's some other piece of the service that we can offer, the basic piece of service that the system can offer to people is they'll take your wastewater and treat it and then dispose of it in an environmentally conscious manner. But there may be other things we can offer. We may be able to offer heat, we may be able to offer electricity, we may be able to offer some solids, some beneficial reusable solids, depending upon what the individual property owner needs. No matter what that is, somebody needs to tell you what the amount is. At the time that someone tells you what the amount is, there will be an actual process where we'll get folks to sign up and make a commitment.
So they will just like sign a legally binding agreement?
Yeah, and we'll work that out in the end. That won't happen in phase one, because phase one, we're gonna get to the point where we can draw
I understand they
draw
need
an
information
envelope
before they can do anything.
and get the numbers. And Warren's point was a pretty good one. There were a lot of Warren's well known as a pragmatist during his career, so his point was a really good one. There's a lot of kind of pragmatically assessed issues we need to get to refine those numbers. When we get to the end of that step one, then we get into step two. The phase two work will actually help us refine those numbers even better and get those numbers pretty solid. We envision that point when you'll go out and actually get physical commitments from property owners to be somewhere towards that piece of phase two. We're hoping that the commitments that we get at the end of phase one are strong, but it's unlikely that at the end of phase one, because we will not, the town, for instance, will not have done any of the steps needed to actually move forward with full implementation, because there's a lot more commitments needed by the town. They can't expect property owners to hand over a check at that point in time. But there will likely become a day when we'll ask some of the bigger property owners to make a formal commitment. And that will be in the form of letters of commitment. It will be in the form of, probably for the larger community folks that we want to get as key partners, memorandums of understanding, which is the typical approach that we would use, a legal MOU that says, if the town does these things on behalf of the Smart Sewer Program, the property owner will do these things, including with an understanding that these will be my financial obligations. And those will be set up on the basis of numbers. For smaller opt-ins, it's more likely we will just ask for letters of commitment. And again, Keith has been through this in some other communities before too, including, I think, Provincetown.
In Provincetown, yeah, we managed about 1,200 properties that were hooking in, and it was an iterative process, because you're looking for some initial indication of whether there's interest or not. But it's not until you get to the very end where you're providing enough information from all the, because you know where the treatment plant site is going to be, you know where the effluent disposal sites are going to be, you therefore can calculate what's the cost to get from one to the other and to the service area. And once all of those costs are known, then and only then could a property owner make an informed decision on, well, if that's what it is, that I'll hook up. What this shows on the screen here, this was the preliminary indication that we did back during the study, which simply asked, are you interested in, basically in learning more? Do you want to come along for the ride as we study this? And there was enough, sure, there was enough. We only had a few of the properties shown in red, but the ones in green said, sure, I want to know more. I will continue with the discussion. But it is an iterative process that only comes from having more information to give to the property owner. We can't ask the property owner to make a judgment based on what we know
Yeah,
now.
I guess my concern.
We have to know more.
But the root of my concern was, we do all this work, and then at the last minute, they're like, no, I'm not gonna do it. And just like in having some insurance that they actually are before we go forward. I guess was the root of my concern, like, how do you get that
So-
commitment before you actually do it?
It gets done this way all the time on a private basis, and this is where a smart approach actually learns a lot from the way private projects get done. There's a balance between getting commitments from each of your partners and financing to get that all in place. Nobody wants to be the folks who give the cash to a private investment project if the project's never gonna be built. You're gonna give the cash over and nothing's ever gonna happen. The town has a bit of an advantage because the town has the access to be able to get folks who are committed to the process into the same method that we can collect money from sending sewer bills, we can collect money from tax revenues and those things. The kind of the teetering point will be on here is the likely end of this, and I don't want to jump to the end because that's making assumptions hurts these processes that we do. But one of the more likely things that will happen is in the end we'll probably form a district. I think that's like what Provincetown did. You form a district and folks are in and out of the district. In order to form that district, you get pretty hard commitments from people, but once town meeting goes in and forms that district is formed, and if you're in the district, you're subject to the tax levying powers of that district. Even if you change your mind and you're in the district, you're in. So there will actually be a time where these things will get very much solidified, and you're gonna have to live up to the commitment you're gonna make. That's one of the reasons why you don't have people who, I'm gonna opt out this week. Town meeting adopts the program and sets a hard district and it's drawn on the map. The next week I change my mind because my septic system all of a sudden isn't running and I want to opt in. That's going to be something we're going to talk a lot about in the outreach to folks who might be served. Because it's a really important decision to make because we can't keep, as Keith said, it'll be iterative, but it can't be iterative every week. There'll be a certain period of time for each level of buy-in as we do this kind of smart approach that the chair has spoken about.
And if I could just ask a quick second question, this is more for the BOS. Does the Board of Selectmen and even the Planning Board feel that they have the tools to kind of keep the character of the zoning tools already in place to keep the character of our town? Or do you guys feel that we need some additional zoning rules to be put in place to really kind of keep the character of our town as we move potentially towards a sewering possibility?
Go for it. So, when we did the overlay district for the south and the south and the up north, we looked at the village center. And we really didn't do any because there was enough control there as it is. There's enough underlaying and there's enough overlay for the district. So there wasn't really much that needed to be tweaked. Throughout that whole process, we looked at building types, the exterior, interior, the whole village district, and there wasn't much to be tweaked, so we didn't change it, because it was already there. It's already in existence right now.
So you feel like you have what you need for the controls?
Yes, absolutely, and again, the Board of Selectmen is not the regulatory board to say that, it's definitely the planning board, but in conjunction with the Board of Selectmen and the planning board, we already reviewed that, kicked the tires, looked at every aspect of it, and we all agreed, both boards, and said, it looks pretty good right now. Well, why isn't it working? No one's doing anything. Why isn't, we have all this great zoning, it's not working, why? The issue is sewer. That came out loud and clear during that process also, even before the master plan started. I hope that answered your question.
It does.
Because that's the way of adding economic value, which then gets to, if there's particular properties that aren't being kept up so well, then it creates a market where the uses that do occur there are going to look a lot better.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Okay, so 3 more hands. Are you still, yeah, okay, so.
I think Amy asked a lot of what I was gonna ask. It was about getting people to.
Sorry, name and
Katie,
sorry, yeah.
Caruth, Goldsmith Street. And so you mentioned like there's a 50%, you need to be above 50% or whatever to make it to go forward, of people to buy in. And are people gonna be buying in and committing to like the phase one, or are they going to, committing in with the anticipation that the whole town will be sewered and their rate will go right up? I spoke to a businessman who had been approached and talked to about the sewer project, and he said to me that the residents don't understand that the whole town's gonna be sewered.
No, we don't understand.
Complete opposite of what we just said.
Yeah, I know, I appreciate what you just said, but I guess the question is, are they committing to the highest level of, financial commitment, which would be the smallest build-out, right?
Yeah, just within the scope of what was shown on the screen there.
So they need to agree to that.
Yeah. And that's what the model will be based on.
Right, and then if we did go down, when I was answering Mr. Sanders' question, then if we did go down the road and we built up another, let's call it a module, and we expanded it to service the lake, say, Goldsmith Street, that would be the additional buy-in from that district, to use Kent's term. So that would be separate,
Okay.
as far as buy-in is concerned, in order to
Can I do a
justify.
quick part two? Quick part two. What are the locations? You said that we have options, and I wasn't aware that there were.
Well, there were some sites previously in the study back in 2010. There's like a little map that showed some sites that were looked at, and but I'd be hesitant to list off locations, because that's really part of the next process.
Private properties, speculative, but, along Great Road and different locations, existing sites.
There's also been technology changes that open up a lot of other opportunities for
Yeah.
us, whereas before we had to have a pretty substantial parcel. And now we can, with the wicking systems, we can do different things that allow us to have a smaller parcel.
I'm not quite there yet. Okay, we've got a couple ahead of you. We've got Mr. Zeldin, and we've got Erica, and then okay. Yes.
Michael Zeldin, 11 Loan Street. And one of the nice things about being on the master plan steering committee is you get to go to school. You get to listen to lots of people, and you get to learn things, very important things. And in listening to the town and doing some homework, I have just this suggestion. We have to think about, I suggest thinking about this idea of a sewer as part of a bigger picture. Actually, a key to survival of the town, both its character as well as its finance. There's nothing that stops us while this process is beginning to start another process with great vigor, and that is promoting the town. Just because we have n number of property owners and businesses in the common at the moment and elsewhere, there's nothing that says that a revised, invigorated business development group couldn't start on behalf of the town, seeking out people who are interested in coming to a thriving, interesting, beautiful town and providing services. And this couldn't be a better time, because I don't know if you've noticed, but large box retails are going downhill. They're closing. What's coming up? Online and smaller specialty shops. I've just described for you the village common that you've been looking for all these years. So I suggest that we look at this project not as just who are the 5, 10, 15, 25 businesses that happen to be there, but we ask the question, and all we have to look is less than a mile away. Just look down the hill. What's there? An existing system, sewage system, but more importantly, businesses clustered. I would agree that's not what we want, obviously, for the common, but that's called business development. And I'm suggesting that the town think about this as business development, people development, because conceivably this would be a great place to live. Close to all the transportation, and we're having more transportation, we're getting more train station support, better looking common. This could be a very attractive place for seniors, if they choose to live, young people to live, because this is where the action's going to be, because that's where the sewer happens to be. So think bigger, and think about this for the town, and not just in terms of the 5 people, 10 owners happen to be around. So let me just suggest a more vigorous, aggressive business and development effort than we've ever put on before.
Thank you.
Erica Podgorny, Fox Lane. I just had a question about the nitrate levels. So you said it was about at 4 to 6, and if we get to 10, that's when DEP steps in. What is the rate at which it's increasing? And is there a point at which the town would say, well, we're getting close to that, so we're gonna move ahead with sewer? And so what's the incentive for businesses to do it now and maybe not wait till the town does it on its own?
Okay.
I can answer.
Yeah, we've talked about this one before. You wanna-
Go ahead.
Okay, so the rate is, oh, sorry.
I thought you were passing on the ball, I was gonna.
Oh, sorry. The rate of increases is not something I can exactly answer right now. There's a lot of variables because what we see is, for example, the locations that are already there right now are depositing 70 parts per million of nitrogens into the ground directly. Now, rain comes along and kind of whittles that down or neutralizes that and brings the number down. But if you have drought, the number, we're probably above 10 at that point. I don't want to speculate, but
No, we're not, we're never above 10.
Sorry, okay.
8 was the highest,
The
never.
number goes, is it? So the number, depending on what's happening with the rain actually, is really how the number is looking at any point in time. But in terms of, next year, are we gonna be at an 8? I couldn't put a number on that kind of an increase. How to do? Yes, Mr. Zimmerman.
Actually, pretty well. Bob Zimmerman, 83 Sanderson Road. The number is actually, I checked today, between 5 and 7. And
So it's gone up since this morning.
Melissa is correct that groundwater actually determines. So when nitrates are discharged from a septic system, they come out at around 65 parts per million to 70 parts per million, right? And you're looking for dilution in the groundwater to get them back down to the natural occurring background level. In our part of the state is about 1 part per million. And when I was on the Board of Health, these many years ago, we were in the 3 to 4 range. And Margot Weber at the Department of Environmental Protection said, pay attention to this. This could be a real issue for the town. Because as the common area puts more businesses in there, there's more waste going into a confined area, and that number starts to go up. And Melissa's also exactly right. At 10 parts per million, the state will come in and say, you got a sewer. We can't allow this to continue. And it's not because we have people downtown who are pumping water and using it for drinking water, which would cause very grave concern. We don't. But we could. And it's on the basis of could that DEP acts. So we just don't, there's no reason for us to go there. Let's not go there. We're in a place, I think, right now. Weston and Sampson is an excellent engineering firm. They're going to be able to come back to us and tell us that we can do this in the way that was scoped out. And if so, it should be a very affordable solution to the problem.
Thank you. Okay, yes, and then afterwards, you, Mr. Sanders, and then,
Am I-
yes, you're up.
You're up.
Jane Crisfield, New Lane. In November, we voted almost $250,000 for this project, and if I read the newspaper correctly, we haven't spent any of that, is that correct?
That's correct, because we signed the contract tonight. We have not spent any money because we only signed the contract tonight because it took us several months to issue the request for proposals and for that I had to wait for a Public Works Director to start in January, and we've been busy these last 3 months.
So my
reaching this
question
point.
is that enough to cover the first phase for the engineers?
Yes.
Then why are we asking at town meeting for $200,000 more?
So it'll be to complete out phase 1 and phase 2.
We could say that we have artificially divided into phase 1 and phase 2. There's a scope of work that Weston and Sampson has come up with, which we've asked them to put in terms of phase one, which we can sign tonight because we have $252,000 on account, and phase two, which is other very necessary work, but we can't sign that until we get that additional money from town meeting.
Yes. Do the
So that-
engineers have any estimate on how long phase one will take? Engineer?
Through the chair.
Right. We talked about that. Do you have?
So we did, right now, we set a par number of 6 months to complete
6
all the
months.
tasks.
For stage one, your phase
For
one?
for the phase one. But we also have talked with the committee and the Board of Selectmen about trying to accelerate that as much as we can so that we don't lose any of the funding opportunities that are out there. So our goal will be to try to keep the project moving pretty briskly. And
Okay, because one of the slides was a little confusing. It said, it seemed to indicate that you needed to have more than what we already have thrown in the kitty in order to go and ask for grants. Is that, am I misreading that wrong? I mean, am I misreading that?
We can apply for grants either way. Yeah, I think that might have been confusing. I'll double check the slides and clear that up a little bit, but we're not prevented from applying for grants. Absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, I think Mr. Sanders was the last one, and we gotta wrap up, so let's take the.
To the chair, perhaps maybe to Mr. Bergman, on abatement, I mean not abatement, but betterment fee, with that project that you have, known there's a hookup fee, and usually come to a betterment fee as well. What did they do when you had the 1,200 customers there that signed in on that system? What arrangement did they have as far as the connecting fee and betterment fee?
The portions.
Just one thing.
Yeah.
I'm concerned about the small people in the town, the small
Yeah,
business in town.
in general terms, the betterment is meant to cover the capital costs, and then the user fees are based on what your operating costs are. So to determine what the betterment cost would be, you'd look at the total cost of whatever portion that you're borrowing money for, and then to make sure that that's divided up and you've got enough users to pay. Gets into the weeds a little bit to say that after town meeting has authorized construction to begin, but before you've actually borrowed, the town is allowed to do 50% pre-construction betterment so that we have a funding source from the new sewer users so that we can wean ourselves off of the property taxpayers and onto the users as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Okay, yes, one more question.
Mark Arbuckle, Hartwell. Quick question on the memorandum of understanding with the property owners. Are we getting them to commit based on what their current property is or what their property can be redeveloped as? Because it seems like the flows and everything and the cost could be substantially different, right? And if you're going to say that they have to buy in at one level and then they're redeveloping, you might have built a system for the wrong size.
Okay, and I think that's part of the opt-in
Interviewing
process that
process,
needs to be developed. That's a fair point.
Yeah, it's a good issue to raise contractually. My own experience in Provincetown was that we limited each property to what its Title V design flow was, because we weren't building it to promote growth, we were building it for other reasons. We were building it so that the harbor didn't was ruined.
So Weston and Sampson, if you can make sure that's part of the conversation and we have an
Yeah,
answer.
in general, that's absolutely a detail that gets worked out, and financials are very important in this, so the key will be, nobody will get a windfall benefit that's disproportionate to their buy-in. That's a really important aspect of the plan, so, yeah, part of the plan.
Part of the planning process. Okay, guys, these are awesome questions. Thank you all for coming down here. Two special thanks to Weston and Sampson, obviously. Thank you guys for being available and doing a great job, and to Bob and.
Awesome presentation.
Thank you. Now you get to see what I do at work. I take a lot of disparate information and put it into a digestible format. So thank you, Bob. Excellent. Okay, guys. Oh, yeah, I'm sorry, yes, yes, and Chris for all his work. So glad to have you on the team.
Who said it?
Thank you.
The architect. Thank you. Thank you.
All right, guys, thank you so much.
Good luck.
Move right along.
Came back just for that? You still got a couple months before you go back?
Okay, yes.
Thanks, Bob. See you. Thank you.
How was the process?
Need to talk about some of the key things. This is a clean start.
That's right.
All right, guys, so we're gonna move on here to item 6A. Where's my gavel? I
Thank you, Bob.
need to use that once at least before I leave.
She needs the gavel.
I've never used it.
Radio time's a good time.
Really? Hey, guys, never got to use the gavel yet, so.
First time she's ever used the gavel.
My last thing. All right, Weston Sampson, I think you guys are free to leave, I do believe, but you are welcome to stay.
A week from tonight, right?
A lot of exciting stuff coming on the agenda.
Yeah.
You guys can stay if you like.
It's gonna be really exciting.
We've got spring water.
It looks
It's called Nephilim Spring Water.
Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you, guys.
I'll be in touch.
Here. Okay, guys. May 6, 2017, annual town election, execute warrant and direct constable for posting.
Ready? Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to execute the warrant for the annual town election to be held on Saturday, May 6, 2017, from 8 a.m. to 8 p.m. in the Charles Forbes K Gymnasium, Littleton Middle School, 55 Russell Street, and to direct the constable to post said warrant forthwith.
Sir.
So moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
You will want to do number 5.
Yes.
though,
Shoot, I'm
where-
sorry.
where you,
That's my bad.
Because you have not assigned the articles to me.
I apologize.
Yeah, I'll go with that.
Item 5, let's go back. May 1st, 2017, town meetings, make article.
Motion for you.
You're keeping up with my scatteredness. Make article assignments and adopt article recommendations. Okay. Oh, you know what? Oh, we do have it, okay. All right, so start off with make article assignments.
I'll take the first 3.
And the special?
Oh, he's already
Special.
gotten it.
No, just because I'm not going to be there.
Oh, yeah, that's right. You're definitely not, right?
Doesn't look good.
Okay. We assume Chuck's not there.
Yeah, if you want to give me stuff at the end, then you guys
Right.
can drag it out for me.
You'll be here for, the 2 alcohol licenses.
Oh, great.
Well, let's assume Chuck's out.
Yeah.
Oh, you know, you can assign me some stuff, like Keith said, toward the end, and then,
What if you don't?
then just have a
Okay,
Oh,
person.
yeah.
Okay.
I'll take special time, number 6 too, with the water.
Yeah.
Okay. So Jim's got 1, 2, 3, and 4 in the special.
6. 1, 2, 3,
Well,
6.
6, I'm sorry. Yeah.
I'll take 5A.
I'll take 5B.
Okay, Melissa is 5A, Joe is 5B.
I can show up late by the looks of things.
Who's taking?
Or I can take it.
Let that,
Or who?
The library?
Well, I'm
No, that's
assuming
not-
Sam or Mark will be doing a presentation, but we still have, to Mr. Sanders' point, the financial slide to throw up there. Maybe. Do we ever not have a selectman assigned to something?
Yeah.
Oh, really?
petitions.
Okay.
The planning board's gonna do theirs.
Well, when is the financial aspect going to be? Is the finance committee doing anything this time around? No.
Finance committee won't be doing they'll be doing a budget presentation probably closer to 8:30 once
Okay.
we get out of, so.
There's no financial impact on Article 4.
Mark,
right?
sorry.
Mark Rambacher, library trustee. Article 4 isn't asking for any money.
Well,
There's
that-
no financial impact.
That is a fair point as well. Okay, so we just let it go. All right.
It's the board's call whether you want to, if you don't want to assign all of the articles.
Yeah.
you know,
if a question comes up about that, we're prepared to answer it. Bonnie's got the information.
Right, yeah,
Right,
that's
the
fair.
the town meeting booklet already says what the financial impact is.
Okay, good point. All
Whether it's a
right, all right,
financial
all right,
article or
all right. Moving right along, annual town meeting. Sure.
Well, no one's here for 1 and 2, right?
Nope. So we skip them,
not.
right?
Article 2
Do we-
includes the master plan.
But PJ's doing that, right?
Yeah, PJ's doing that.
Yeah. So we leave 1 and 2, yeah? Zoning, Article 3, any takers? Or just planning board?
This planning board.
Okay. Operating
You
budget.
did vote to support the article, though.
So we'd give a intro meeting.
Well, you did vote to support all the zoning articles, so if called on, you may want to decide whose job it is to stand up
So
and
Board of
say why you
Selectmen
voted to
supported
support.
it.
Oh, okay. Who wants to take it?
Well, I'll take it.
I can phone it in
But it's 3?
from the author.
3,
Yeah,
yep.
the senior residential development.
Okay.
Well, you're the liaison to the seniors, to the council on aging.
If you are one, are you a liaison or?
Conflict of interest, I think.
You know what? I know it.
I've been
Sorry,
good for like
Joe.
3 meetings in a row.
Okay, next up, operating budget? Do we need,
FinCom presenter, right? But Madam Chair, you probably ought to be the.
should I take it?
Yeah,
Okey dokey, happy to. Revolving funds, so I'm gonna take both of the.
While you're up?
Yeah,
Sure.
okay.
Number 8, I'll take the police.
I'll take 6.
Okay, so
I would generally take the Park and Rec one, but
Jim will take 6.
I'm not gonna be there, so.
Wait a minute.
I'm happy to take Park and Rec.
Okay.
Well, let's see, Glavy's down there not saying nothing.
No, I'm gonna get all the
Oh, is he?
ugly ones that come later.
Oh, all right, perfect.
Okay, so Jim has 6.
Yep.
Right, so who has 7? Park and Rec?
I'll take it.
Okay. And then who called the police articles?
I did.
Okay.
All three of, all the one.
Jim or Joe?
Joe.
Joe, so
One, A,
you've got-
B, and C.
I, A, B, C,
and
D.
D. Yeah. I'll take the fire, how's that? There you go.
Okay.
It's the fire, no?
Is that okay, Scott?
Truck ran out as soon as he heard you say that.
With the highway as well?
I'll take highway. I like that, right.
Jim takes highway.
Paul is fire.
Schools,
Sure.
well, schools are probably gonna be done by the school committee.
Right.
no?
They
if
will
we
be,
could ask a
but,
question.
you know,
Paul's good.
What number are we on now?
Cemetery,
we're down to the cemetery.
Schools. I'll do the cemeteries. There's 3 of them.
Yep.
Paul took schools, yeah.
Yep.
Library furnishings.
Who took highway?
Jimmy.
Really?
Who took cemetery? Joe?
I did.
Sorry, yeah, I'm trying to
So
keep up
who
to.
took library,
Library.
you want, whoever that was, do you wanna take the library here or?
We didn't.
This
Now
is
you
different though.
passed.
Yeah. This
Okay.
is, yeah, this is just furnishings.
Yeah, I'll take it. Unless someone else wants to.
So,
The road needs assessment, that's something that,
Where's that? Oh,
it's 8A.
We're doing the Park and Rec now, right?
yeah, 3 Park and Recs. You want me to stick with Park and Rec?
2
Yeah,
Park and Rec.
Okay.
Sorry,
Melissa for Park and Rec.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to do it, but
What's that?
Park and Rec,
Not too bad.
that's gonna be too early.
Financial software.
Who took the facility needs assessment?
Well, it's on.
Oh, sorry, that's Park, or who is this?
That's not Park and Rec, that's the
No.
whole
That's
building,
that,
right?
That's everything.
With that,
I can certainly do it.
Paul, okay. Financial software,
Yeah, I'll take that one.
upgrading this room, video,
I'll take that.
stormwater,
I'll take it. You're doing highway.
excitedly.
mill pond dredging, and
Oh.
cle-
I'll take it if no one else wants it.
and clean lakes, those go together.
With Corey.
I'll tell you what, Corey's water. I'll take
Yep,
it.
that, okay.
You want to
I'll take the two of them. No
E
problem.
and F, all right, so Jim
E
Jim
and F.
takes,
You have both of them, right?
Yeah,
Jim
E
takes
and
the
F.
Mill Pond and Clean Lakes, okay, good.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Master
yeah, I'll take the
plan.
master plan.
Is that Melissa?
AG.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Community preservation budget.
I'll take it.
I got the personal board bylaw.
Okay, Joe has number 9. We got 3 stabilization funds. Any takers?
I'll take them.
Paul?
Why not?
Chair? Okay, Melissa.
You guys got them?
Unless
Oh,
you
you
want
want
some.
them?
No.
Trust fund grant.
I think this is when Chuck shows up. And
Just when I show up, I'll just take the rest.
Okay, well, the marijuana,
yeah, and marijuana and the liquor licenses, you get all those.
All the vices.
well, Joyce Williams property. Anyway, so 14, trust fund grant.
I'll take it since I'm doing some financial stuff before that, so.
Okay.
I'll take 15. Chuck.
15 for Joe.
And staying with Chris. I'll stay with Chris.
MassDOT goes to
Jim.
Jim. 2 zoning amendments.
We didn't put anyone against the other zoning amendment.
No. Did we not? No, we didn't.
So
Yeah,
planning board's
we
gonna
did.
do it, but
Did we?
did
Yeah.
Yeah, you had Joe.
Joe.
Oh, I lied, sorry. Okay.
Chuck's gonna be rolling in the door right around 17.
If you wanna give them to me, just have somebody prepared on a plan B. I'll take 17 and 18.
Sold.
But just, again,
Well, I'm sure we can delay.
And we're not likely,
It's only good.
we're not likely to even be asked about them.
No, probably.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And on the marijuana one, town council will be able to answer the questions that people would have.
Right. there was something in the Beacon. We just,
All right, I'll take 19, sticking with Chris. We're gonna be
Westboro.
buddies.
Buddies.
Okay,
And
Jim is
Lori.
19
And I'll do 22.
and 20. Article 21 is the Joyce Williams property.
I did Joyce Williams last town meeting, if you want me to do
Right
it
ahead.
again.
Very good. Bylaw amendment on town meeting procedures.
Passionate. I'll take it.
Melissa, okay. Departmental revolving funds. Really getting in the weeds on this one.
Yeah, that's,
really?
That's a chair.
yeah, I'll take it.
Going on blazing glory.
Look, I know, I know,
He's got two.
He's got two.
Yeah, he's got 2.
I can have the next one.
2.
Okay.
I'll
I
take
have
the
two,
next
and I'm not even gonna be there.
All alcohol, there we go.
All gets
There you go,
44.
take that.
Okay.
Which is really.
I'm gonna fight you for that one.
You had no position on the 2 voter petitions?
No.
And then the rest are
Housekeeping.
routine financial.
Yeah.
So who wants those?
Chair.
Chair.
All right, the gravy.
Hey.
Those are gravies.
I'll be home in bed by
The
then.
only
Those are
issue
gravies.
between us and...
Give Glavy the last 4.
Okay.
Glavy's got the last 4.
Okay, got it.
We can negotiate.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, thank you.
One at a time.
He didn't get, yeah, he got 2. He was not gonna show up. He's got what, communion?
Confirmation.
And that was talking like 10:30, 11 o'clock.
There's a lot of kids.
Down with the family.
Okay,
Well, when JoJo got baptized, would you have missed it for town meeting? Thank you, defense rests.
okay,
Okay.
now we're gonna,
60.
There were no other recommendations we were gonna consider, right?
Well, yeah, I mean, the only other, the articles, special 2 were withdrawing. You did not take a position on special 4, and then you've not taken a position on annual 24, 25, and 26.
Yeah, I'll present, I don't need to have a recommendation of the board, just saying we're doing it as a courtesy based on feedback we got.
Okay,
Pleasure with the town.
Yep.
so we're done on, ready for town meeting now, so.
There we go.
any other discussion?
May 1st.
Okay. Okay. right,
16.
yes, Alicia, hey, 6B. Park and Recreation Commission requests memorandum of agreement, supervision of Park and Rec Director. Hello, Park and Rec Director.
How are y'all doing?
Good, so talk to us, it's before us here.
Yeah, so it's a pretty simple agreement. It's just to move the supervision from being from the Park Commission to the Town Administrator. So the Park Commission will still be policy-making board, but it'll put things like my yearly goals and evaluation in the hands of the Town Administrator. That's it.
We talked about this with Park and Rec for about a year, and Alicia brought it to her board at their last meeting, and they unanimously voted to approve it. Ivan, as chair, has signed the MOA. We modeled it on the one that was approved just a couple of months ago at the planning board, and Alicia just brought it to her board, and they said yes, so.
Yep.
So my-
Easy peasy.
Yeah, no, it's all good. My only comment to that, this would be with our new assistant town administrator. I'd like to see that delineation. I understand this one fits you perfectly
Right.
because it's an autonomous board that's gonna be reporting to you.
Right.
Other staff, I'd like to see go to Tony and check out that org chart to make
Yeah.
sure where we sit. I know we haven't reviewed it since he's come on board.
Right.
I think it's important for the board to, obviously, it's gonna be the next board sitting.
Work in
but-
progress.
Yeah, work in progress, and be able to at least review it so we can see what the
Absolutely,
changes
yeah,
are,
and
okay?
Anthony and I have had the discussion that there will be direct reports that go to him, but we haven't formulated the plan of who's that gonna be specifically.
We wanna be
We'll
part of
bring
that
that
plan.
forward,
For
yeah,
sure.
bring that forward for discussion.
But that
But I-
being said,
But
you know,
I
these
would
type of
agree.
reports are perfect.
Yeah, I would agree as well that where, in the cases where there's been a representation made to a separately elected board, then
Absolutely.
we're gonna have oversight that we should
Go to the
keep
top.
those, yeah, so honor those. so.
Agreed.
Okay, but I'm very pleased to be able to move forward with this, thank you.
Appreciate it. Yeah.
Board, any other comments, questions?
Move the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 41, subsection 23A, to approve memorandum of agreement with the Park and Recreation Commission relative to the supervision of Parks and Recreation Community Education, PRCE, directed by the Town Administrator.
It's been moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Just let us know. Let us know if anything comes up. We'll take care of them for you. All right?
Appreciate it, I appreciate it.
We get the enforcers, this will work.
Okay.
This will work out, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your patience too, and I'm
Yeah.
glad.
Tell Tim I have to get down to meet him.
Okay.
I said
I'm glad
I'd be
you-
down this week, and I haven't been there yet.
Okay, I'll pass that on.
You've got a great team in place now.
We
so,
do.
yeah,
Boy,
so
they're
happy the way
phenomenal.
things are looking
Good to
up.
hear.
So,
Yeah.
Awesome.
That's
Yeah.
a transition, so it's good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Really.
Probably should have them, I know it's my last meeting, but we probably should get an update on that whole situation, how it's going down.
Yeah, I'd be glad to, absolutely.
No,
Yeah, a
these
lot
guys
of
are.
good things to
Interesting.
Now you bring it
She doesn't really
up.
care.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, you're like, yeah, I did that here.
This guy killed me.
Hey, he's gonna prepare for his 2 articles.
I know, fair point.
Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Have a good night.
Thank you.
Thanks, Alicia, good night.
Okay, 6C, procurement facility project
This
updates.
is just a couple of quick updates to keep things on your radar screen. So Anthony has prepared quick updates on the town building, space needs analysis, and I feel.
Okay.
So,
Oh, Anthony's gonna give us the update.
Nice.
All right,
Nice.
hear it.
Undivided.
I'm still gonna call him Tony.
That's okay. All right, so as you know, originally it was appropriated for $20,000 by special town meeting, got it from 5 on 11/16/16. Of that, 17 firms took the bids, took the bids. Unfortunately, nobody bid, took the proposals, nobody bid. Chris started, spoke with some of the firms that took them, and it was basically a price. So $30,000 was added to make the budget now $50,000, and we went out and rebid, and we had now 2 two vendors that submitted. So it's Allen Leave Architects and Associates and GNAP Design Architects. So there's going to be a committee consisting of Chris Dodded, Bill Cole, and myself that are going to be reviewing those and taking a look and then make a recommendation.
So the money made all the difference, and just a reminder, at the special meeting at 6:30 next Monday night, we'll be bringing you a short list of transfers, year-end transfers, including this one, to move right ahead.
Do you have room for one of the members of the Board of Selectmen to be part of that?
Sure.
I'll do it. Just
I'm presenting that article, so when are you gonna be meeting on that?
We haven't set a date yet. We're hoping to do it this week, set a date probably for sometime the following week.
All right, I'm available unless someone else wants it, but.
Yeah, either one, I am interested in this and taking a look at the whole study.
Figured, you can't make town meeting, what I mean.
Yeah, well, you'll take a first crack. If you can't make it, let me know.
We can have a make-up.
If Chuck's not busy, I'll do it, but if he's available, he can have it.
keep them both in the loop and
You guys okay with
they'll
that?
figure themselves out.
You okay with
I'm
that?
good, I'm good, yeah.
We'll get the two.
Fight over it.
I didn't realize he wanted it.
No, I don't want him
Crying all week.
It's something that we get a lot of questions
Just
on.
keep, maybe one's available and the other isn't, they'll figure it out, I think. Does that sound fair?
Thanks.
When I'm gone, we'll just redo everything. All right, cool. Anything else on that one?
No.
I'm sorry, I haven't eaten anything today. I'm so hungry. I'm gonna pass out if I don't
Take
eat
over?
this. I'm sorry.
Like Alexander Haig?
No, we're almost done. Other minutes.
So hold on, that's the update on the building.
Oh, sorry.
Yes, right, now we're on that.
My bad.
So,
TP, I'll get this.
So, the PNBC did vote to approve Vertex as the clerk of the works. Those two proposals, they're not to exceed $7,500 for the fields, $9,500 for the amenities building portion of that. On Wednesday, and I think I have an error in my memo, but it's Wednesday, April 26th at 2 p.m. is a pre-construction meeting where the safety plans will be presented and forwarded to the superintendent for review, and we're also working on hopefully a break ground, possibly ceremony for possibly Saturday. We're trying to work out the logistics with Gail and the two other vendors to see if everybody can be available as well as yourselves.
This Saturday?
That's the first date we're looking at.
I think that'd be awesome because I'll still be on board.
So I think part of the reason is because we've always been saying May 1st groundbreaking, and that's when we were hoping to shovel the ground, right?
So, Saturday's election.
Right.
Yeah.
I'll be tied up.
The other possibility would be like Monday.
Yeah, you don't want to have a groundbreaking within sight of the polling place.
Well, we could potentially do it on Monday
Right.
at a town meeting, just prior to town meeting, 'cause it's really just ceremonial, right, with a pile of dirt and a couple shovels. So we could potentially do that.
I should have an update on that by Wednesday after the meeting, and I'll certainly pass that information on to the board.
Awesome.
Monday, Saturday works for me.
Yeah, either one.
I'd be down with either one.
The only thing with weekdays is it would have to be, if we want to try to get as many of us there as possible, it would have to be later in the afternoon.
Saturday it is.
But, yeah,
Saturday.
Okay.
Well,
Shoot for
it's
that.
all a matter, if we want the contractors there, and we don't know if they've bought the gold shovels yet, so.
LCTV will be there, and
Perfect.
they can do wonders. You put a pile of dirt in the middle, it'll look like a mountain.
I have shovels at my house, I can bring two.
yeah, I've got a shovel
BYO
from
shovel?
one of them.
Yeah, BYOS.
I'll bring a shovel. All
Thanks,
right.
I appreciate Anthony dealing directly with the PNBC doing these issues.
It's awesome, thank you.
Very good. Okay, if I haven't randomly jumped over any other agenda items, we are at minutes approval.
Yeah, Clancy, wherever you are, you finally made it to the 8.
I noticed Glavy's name a lot.
Yeah, he figured out the scoring.
You know,
I think he's watching, so he'll be.
He's watching, Clancy is gonna do the minutes for tonight.
Okay, well, thank you, Clancy, and A-OK.
Very good.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote to approve the meeting minutes of April 10th, 2017.
So moved and seconded, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All right.
Okay, and with that, we are going into executive session, and we'll go ahead and read that.
Move that the Board of Selectmen vote pursuant to Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, subsection 21A2, to go into executive session for the purpose of conducting a strategy session in preparation for negotiations with the non-union personnel, and not convene into open session thereafter.
Selectman Carr? Nope, you're not.
Sorry, I'm the last meeting, this is great. Aye, Fred.
Aye, Bob.
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you very much.
That was
Okay.
great.
Thanks,
Good night,
guys.
Alex.
Okay, so now we will be in executive session, and if someone wants to hit the, Selectman Hebert, signing off.